Oh, hello, everybody. How you doing? I'm back. I was gone on Wednesday. I'll let a few more people come in here, and I will give you all. I'll give you all an update as soon as we get a few more people in here. I'm gonna take off my watch because I'm not doing any exercise right now other than running my mouth. Night court now in session. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your weeks are doing well. Woof, what a week. What a week. I missed you. Teresa, I will tell you where I was in just a moment. I'm going to let a few more people come in. It's nothing ground shattering at all. You can notice that I did not have enough time to figure out my new microphone. Oh, thank you, Dusty. Muchas gracias. Oh, it's a Friday, everybody. It's a Friday. Tell me something good that happened while I'm answering this question. Nail color. Good question. Adam Lambert just came out with a new line of nail polish, and I love this one so much, and I will post it in the chat. This is not an endorsement, but it kind of is. And so I did that one, and then I got their matte top coat because I love matte top coat. Matte is great. It's fantastic. Thank you, City Kitty. Thank you. I appreciate it. Dean Sparks is in the house. Yay. Yay. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, it's like a black with shimmer, but then when you put the matte on top of it, if anybody's a fan of like I'd be fine with just the glossy, but if anybody's a fan of, not a fan, but if you know Kiss and you know that that sheet metal kind of look, that silver metally look that they have on like literally all their clothing, that's kind of what it ends up looking like, which I really dig. Love it so much. I mean, who doesn't? The man's talented as hell. He's phenomenal. He's been great since American Idol. American Idol? Yeah, American Idol. Truly. But yeah, I saw that he came out with this, and I don't usually go buy something that people tend to endorse. So, but this I was all about. So yay! Let's see. Hollow taco polish. No, I haven't, but if it says taco, it's got to be good, right? That's what it says. I'm writing it down. Oh man, I love it. I love it because I do it. And guy liner was first. That was back in college. And this theater kid knows how to put on some guy liner for sure. I bet she did. That's awesome, Dean. I'm glad you guys were able to get out in a way. I know you had a lot going on. Let's see here. Saw him with Queen. Mama just killed a man. I love me some Queen. Oh, this isn't the new mic, Kathy. This is the old mic. The new mic is so much prettier. I think the mic arm came in today, but I can't be sure. It was so delayed. eBay failed me. It wasn't an Amazon purchase, so it wasn't on time. Oh well. But yes. So okay, so I don't know how many people are coming tonight. It's a Friday night. Y'all are the hardcore night court junkies. front door. Um, um, okay, so Wednesday, oh, my 11-year-old dog Stella, who's like a beagle mix, she was having a hard time breathing, a little difficulty, and so couldn't. She had an appointment in July, couldn't get it. We didn't want to wait, obviously, when respiratory things are involved. So we took her to the urgent care, which actually was lovely. They were wonderful. They ran some tests. They did a sedated test. It's one of those things where when you adopt or rescue or whatever, when you bring a dog into your family, eventually this is going to happen. And so she is still with us. So uh, let's just we'll cut that question right now. So what's going on is I really don't want to bring your weekends down in the beginning of them, but you guys were asking, so hopefully that's okay if I share. So right now, what she's got is she's got a blockage in the nasal pharyngeal area, which is like right where your nose, like nostril, that and the mouth connect. And we're pretty sure what it is a tumor. And so it's big enough now where it's kind of pushing on like blood vessels and it's causing her a nosebleed out of one side of her nose, out of one nostril. And so that just happened. It obviously was happening for a while, but it just started impacting her this week. And so there's that. And some other things that we're seeing on the x-ray. I mean, she's working hard. And so we started running some steroids, a round of steroids on Wednesday into Thursday. And then today she started having a hard time breathing again. And luckily, Mrs. Bruce Crime is connected to some vets where she works. And so we were able to talk to them. And so we've added kind of a mild sedative just to calm her down, because when she breathes and she doesn't think she's getting enough air, she breathes harder or gasps, and she doesn't have to because she is. So if we can just calm her down, and that seems to really be working. I don't know what long term is. As long as she's happy, she's eating, she's drinking, she's playing with bones and toys, and she's not as energetic because she's tired at night because she's not sleeping as well. But her quality of life is still wonderful, and I'm grateful that we have at least a little while, if anything, to prep the little Bruise Crimes, because this will be kind of their first interaction with this part of life. And so that'll be hard. That'll be hard. And obviously, I've been thinking about how I was going to say this all day so I could do it straight. But you all are wonderful. You've reached out. You've asked me how things are going. I really appreciate it. Kimbers, it's my little 11-year-old puppy dog. But I've been super grateful to everybody who's asked me how things are going, and everybody who's just like, are you okay? Night court wasn't on Wednesday. And there was a piece of me that was like, maybe I won't do it today. Maybe I'll just kind of end the week without. But then I realized that, there needs to be some sense of normalcy, and she's okay at this point. And I wanted to hang out with you all. And also, Mrs. Bruce Crime said it was fine. So I got the okay from the Admiral, right? So yes. But thank you all. I really appreciate everything you're saying in the chat. If I don't, I'm not going to click on every single one of them, but you can bet that I'll scroll and show Mrs. Bruce Crime all of these things. Majestic Unicorn, that's a really good question. So, so the next step for us would be to do a CT scan / endoscopy, pretty much, where they kind of reach in from mouth up and around and grabs tissue samples and things. Now that she's 11, and that's pretty intensive. That would just maybe tell us what she might have and wouldn't actually solve the problem. And then in order to solve the problem, that would be a very intensive surgery for an 11-year-old dog. And so I just don't, there's also some things, like I said, that showed up on the x-ray around her it's working hard. There's just a lot going on with Stella, and everything's invasive, and I just don't want to put her through that. Because if I put her through that and then she makes it like 2 weeks afterwards and then dies, well, then that was 2 weeks where she was through pretty much hell before, and I don't want to do that to her. That's a lot, but it's a really good question, and it's Wednesday was tough. We were balancing all kinds of things out, but the vet that we saw, in the urgent care that we went to, they were lovely. So yes. Boy, oh boy, let me bring down the room. But yeah, so things are okay. But I want to let's do our top three, first three in the chat. I think that's a good idea, and then that'll also let me know whether I've I don't know, done this right or not, and you can hear it. Woo! Well, congratulations to the three of you. Thank you so much for being the first in chat. I opened it a little bit late, but doggone, Teresa was like, boom, hi. Carmen, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for that. I appreciate all of you for being here. It's funny, just on a on a Friday night, here we are. Patches, you're right. In fact, I was I was kind of giving some folks an update, and they said somebody responded. I was kind of telling them what meds she was put on, and they said it's really weird to read that one of those meds is something that I take. I was like, yeah, I've been there, done that. So absolutely, for sure. Carmen, thanks again. Patches, thank you again. Y'all, and gossip. Yes, it does. Something that I want, something that I do is that if we bring guests on the show, and I kind of want to keep it for a while, a good long time, or permanently. I mean, we believe in you. We believe in the other folks that I have commands for, and then that's why we leave them up. I think it's really important to make sure that we share our success with you and your success with us, and we help each other out. That's kind of what Brandi and I are all about. We're not a one-man show. In fact, we're like a 20-person show. There's a lot of people behind this. So Shireen, thank you very much. You give so much of your time modding this channel, so thank you. I also like to see the little pound sign. That's nice. It's fancy. All right, so I was gone Wednesday, and for some reason, I felt this need. I felt this need to do something new. I think to do something new, because why not, right? And it's not something that might be long lasting, but it's certainly something that I think you all will like. Let me make sure that I bring it up, because I'm totally prepared. 100% prepared. All right, here we go. All right. So on Sunday, members are going to see a new sidebar pop up. And of course, Sunday night, Terry and I from True Crime and Wine Time, we're going to do the quote unquote perfect murder, where we poke holes in your murders. And so if you haven't gotten your story in, truecrimewinetime@gmail.com. So if you have an idea of what the perfect crime might be, send it in, and we'll pull it, and we'll use it in our show on Sunday. It'll be 8:30 or 8:45. So yes. And so the Sunday sidebar is it's all about laws and how laws change, and sometimes tragedy changes those laws and makes them something that we need, or something that's called for, something that's shouted for. And I do want to say thanks to Shireen, because Shireen wrote. Wait, hold on. Sorry. That's in 2 weeks. That one's in 2 weeks. So this is prepping for a week ahead. I'm way ahead of myself. 1 second. This sidebar this week is about the Shell Lake murders that happened up in Canada. You can look them up, or you can just wait for Sunday. Talks about mental health in Canada as well as the Shell Lake murders. The following is about Sarah Payne. I'm sorry. Is about Sarah Payne, who was a child who there's a case about a child, so you know that it's not going to be a good one. But it also involves how things change laws and how laws need to change. And I think this segment is a great example of that. And before I do that, Sandra, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm happy to make your Friday nights fun. This is fun for me, and if I can translate that to you, that's all I need. So thank you very much. Okay, so ba-ba-da. And hi, Gracie. Gracie's like my like my long distance dog girlfriend. For those of you who don't know. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do weird laws from around the world, and so I'm very excited to share this with you, and I cannot wait. Woohoo! So let's start. Let's start this up. There's no fancy music or anything, but who needs it? Who needs it? Darn it! All right. So this is gonna be fun. I've got 30. I don't know if we're gonna make all of them, but doggone it, I've got 30 of them. So this is gonna be a good time. So where are we headed first? We are headed to Singapore. In Singapore, it is illegal to chew gum. So, enjoy that. Vandals. So in Singapore, vandals used chewing gum to mess with the mass rapid transit system, and the Housing and Development Board spent $150,000 a year to clean gum off of that thing. So Singapore banned all gum substances in 1992. Anybody importing, selling, or making gum in Singapore can get fined and or jail time, with the exception of nicotine and dental gums offering therapeutic value. So don't be chewing gum. Amy, thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate it greatly. And Majestic Unicorn, thank you. Thank you so much. You're a vet? Oh, geez. Well, I might have questions in the future here. But thank you for being the realistic vet. And that's the thing that I liked about our vet, or that emergency or urgent care vet, is that they delivered it both realistically but also in a supportive way. That's very hard to do. Soft skills aren't taught very often anymore, so we really appreciated that. It made all the difference in the world. All right, so that was Singapore. Don't be chewing gum in Singapore or importing. Where are we headed next? Where are we headed next, everybody? Ah, yes, Canada. Yes. All right. So in Canada, radio stations must play Canadian artists. Now, not all the time, but the Canadians are pretty patriotic, I'd say. And so all Canadian radio stations are required by law to play Canadian artists on the airwaves at least 35% of the time, especially during the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. And that means that in an hour of radio during the work week, you'll hear more than 20 minutes of artists like Alanis Morissette, that's fine. Celine Dion, totally. Michael Bublé, that's fine. Justin Bieber, maybe. And then finally, possibly Nickelback. Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh. So, all right, Canada. Canada's got a lot of great artists, though. So, all right, where are we headed? What is next? Oh, all right. Munich. Well, we're headed to Germany. And so it is illegal to run out of gas on the Autobahn. And to be honest with you, I kind of understand why. But there are just changing and dynamic speed limits that give drivers a chance to travel more than 100 miles an hour. People love the Autobahn if they're into cars or they like speed stuff. But if you run out of gas, you can face a big old fine. And if you walk to a gas station, if you run out of gas, you get another fine for that. Now, why? Because as an adult, we have the power to keep our car properly gassed up. So if you run out of gas, it's your own damn fault. And then walking along the highway is just unsafe. So please don't do it, right? So keep your eye on the gas gauge if you're in Germany on the Autobahn, and make sure that you don't get fined for that. Oh, no. Thank you so much. I appreciate your prayers. And if I don't know best, Mrs. Bruce Crime does. And so she has this down. Yes, Shania Twain is Canadian. Man, I feel like a woman. Where are we headed next? Oh, we're headed to Switzerland. Ba-ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da. So it's illegal to hike naked in Switzerland. So, people like to ruin a good thing, I think. And hey, I'm not going to judge you, but after Swiss and German travelers decided to make naked hiking a thing in Switzerland a decade ago, apparently this was truly a thing. Swiss officials decided that they reminded everybody that there is a public indecency law and you can be fined if you're caught in the woods in the buff. And there was a guy who decided he wanted to do it anyways in 2011, and he was fined over $100 for deciding to, go on his bare-bottomed walk. Are you gonna take me home tonight? Speaking of Queen, da da da. I'm sorry. Well, if it doesn't work in Switzerland, I mean, you can go somewhere else. Yeah, Oof. Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of things that happen on hikes that really concern me. Like, I'm very glad that I'm wearing like either long sleeves or long pants or something like that. I don't feel like I should be worried about mosquito bites in various places. So, all right, next. Where are we headed? Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, poison ivy. That's another bad one. No, thank you. So we're headed to Venice, Italy. And in Venice, Italy, it is illegal to feed the pigeons. And everybody's seen that, that big area, courtyard area with all the pigeons. And oh, sorry, it's right here, St. Mark's Square. So thousands of pigeons come to this place, and you think handing out food, and tourists do hand out food for all of those photos and things. But in 2008, Venice lawmakers made it illegal to feed them, and here's why: because the cleanup, truly, and the cleanup costs each citizen 275 euros per year. So now the tables have turned, right? And if you're caught feeding the pigeons, you could face fines of up to 700 euros. So I'd say you probably can't feed them anymore. My screen's white because it's the end of that video. I just picked a bad video. So yes, it is crazy, and everybody does do it. It's a blank screen. It's just the end of the video. You'll see that a couple of times. Sorry, I confused everybody. All right, we're headed to Greece. And at the Acropolis, it is illegal to wear high heels. So I'm gonna go put my heels away. So remember, I don't know why somebody would want to go to the Acropolis for in high heels, but that being said, they banned high heels at the Acropolis in 2009. So no stilettos at the Parthenon. I mean, they put this ban in place to protect the ruins from damage caused by them, which makes sense to me. I mean, they're 2,500 years old, and if a pair of like $80 heels is gonna 100, 200, I don't know, whatever. Insert cost here. It doesn't matter how much it is. This is pretty priceless, this location. So they just don't want you to wreck it. So, all right, next. Oh, this is so depressing. This one, it's not really depressing. Aha! Poland. So in Poland, you are not allowed to wear a Winnie the Pooh t-shirt. Oh, bother. So, Winnie the Pooh doesn't wear pants, and because of this, Poland issued a ban on Winnie the Pooh around playgrounds and schools. finding the character too risque for the likes of impressionable children. Sorry. Every time I think about it, it's really funny. Because what? So just don't wear it in Poland. Okay? Just don't wear poo in Poland. No poo in Poland. Captain, that's a really good question. I don't know. Probably. Probably. What about Donald Duck? I don't I'm guessing it's probably along the same lines. Maybe Donald Duck just isn't the same as or as popular. Winnie the Pooh was Canadian. You are correct. But in Poland, he can't be worn. Tommy, thank you so much for becoming, well, I think re-upping the membership. You've been with us, I think, for a while now. So thank you so much. Let's see. Yeah, there there are more weird laws. We mentioned a few. That's for sure. Oh, and I forgot. I had stopped saying it midway through. Um, 2 weeks from now, that case of Sarah Payne, that script was written by Shireen. So she did the research, she did the writing on the script. It's a wonderful script. You all will. I mean, the subject matter is very difficult, but you will. If there was a way to enjoy it, you will enjoy it. Shireen did a wonderful job. All right, so we're headed to France next. So it is French law that men cannot wear loose-fitting swim trunks on beaches, swimming pools, and other public places where a swimsuit is required attire. Now, the law wasn't for safety, but it was that men wouldn't dare walk around town in a Speedo. So if he wears a Speedo in the water, it surely would be cleaner than something he may have been wearing all day long. And so basically, they're trying to get clothes out of the water. And so this need to avoid clothing that could have been worn throughout the day also extends to t-shirts. So you have to lose those as well as any shorts or swim trunks. And pretty much it means that men must wear Speedos. So if you're all about that life, go to France. I can't say that I am. I cannot say that I am. Okay. All right. England. All right. We've got a couple of people from England here. It is illegal to wear a suit of armor in British Parliament. So, there is an ancient law. This law dates back to 1313. And you are not allowed to wear your suit of armor for a visit to Parliament at any point. So, that being said, don't bring your cosplay with you. And they could revoke the law, but I mean, I don't know. Armor's not really that fashionable. It's kind of hot, as a mascot. I wouldn't probably put it on voluntarily. I feel like it'd literally be like cooking, but they're not going to repeal it. They're going to leave it on there. I've heard this. It is illegal to carry wood on the street. I have heard this. Something Magna Carta. Yeah, leave it home. Leave it home. Yeah, that's a good question, but I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you'll have to go check King George. You have to see what he says. Just genuflect your curtsy before you do. All right. Where are we headed next? Oh, we're headed to lovely. What is that? That is not what I wanted. Did I skip one? I did. I stink. Oh well. Well, we're headed to Scotland next. Oops. Wait. I'm about to bust. I've been sworn to secrecy, but I know you guys can keep a secret. Congratulations, Carmen! That's awesome. Congrats. That's so exciting. Another call, grandbaby. Yes, definitely a secret between you, me, and 86 of our friends. For sure. All right. Scotland. It is illegal to ride a cow while drunk in Scotland. Now, sober? free for all. Drunk, don't do it. Don't do it. Also, if you ride a cow, don't tip your cow. That is that that is here.
Ew, David.
Ew, David. That's what you get. Tell me if you heard that sound effect so I can make sure they're still working. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate you joining us in the cult. So before you get any crazy ideas, you should know that you can get a ticket for drunk cow riding. So the law was created in 1872, and it mandates that people not be drunk when in charge of a cow, horse, carriage, or steam engine. In case you're wondering, the same law states that you can't have a loaded firearm on you while drunk. I think that's a pretty good rule. The cow one I'm confused about, but yay, you heard it. Oh, good, good. It's this. All I'm saying is, if you're super drunk and you have the ability to get onto a cow, I'm gonna let you ride it because it cannot be easy to do. Um, Oh boy. In France, yes, a banana hammock is required. Yay! Um, that is, yes, it is. So yeah, don't ride a cow. Don't ride a cow while drunk. All right, here we go. Next, it is illegal to wear camouflage in much of the Caribbean. So, don't bring your camo. I'm primarily speaking to the people who live within a 50-mile radius of me. You cannot wear it in island nations like Barbados, St. Vincent, is it Lucia? St. Lucia? I want to say Lucia or Lucia. It's hook it on Pahonix. Why don't I know that? I should know that. Antigua, Barbuda? That's not right. And Jamaica. You know what? Some places in the Caribbean. So, hopefully Brandi did not pack her camo. Just tossing that out there. Let's hope. So camouflage is really only allowed. So camouflage there is only allowed to be worn by the military personnel. You do not want to be accidentally drafted, so don't wear it. No, we are not looking. Well, I mean, we could. I mean, she might be kind of in that general vicinity or headed there, or she might be getting on a ship, I think, tomorrow. And she was on her way there. So, whoa. All right, next. Sri Lanka. For those of you who are interested and who really love selfies, you are not allowed to take selfies with Buddha. Now, why? When you take a selfie with Buddha, you're turning your back on him. And that's a sign of disrespect, and it's punishable by imprisonment in Sri Lanka. It's also considered disrespectful to point your finger at Buddha, and sometimes there are bans on taking photos with the statues. Now, although not illegal to have tattoos of Buddha, there was a British woman who was jailed for 3 days in 2014 for inappropriate tattoos of the man. 70% of Sri Lankans feel is a prophet and avatar of the god Vishnu. So cover your tattoos and respect those no photograph signs, and don't turn your back on Buddha. So, just saying, if you go to Sri Lanka, you've been warned or informed. All right. That's not right either. We are headed there, but not yet. All right. So in Denmark, it is illegal to wear a mask in public. I don't know if this extends to wigs. Not sure. But not only masks, Danish government wants to stop anyone from covering their faces in any way in public spaces. This includes masks, helmets, scarves, hats, fake beards, and even burqas. I'm guessing this even burqa. All right, Denmark. Slow your roll. Now I'm assuming that this actually pushes forward to wigs, and I'm against that. So that ban was very controversial, and it went into effect August 2018. Officials say that the ban helps to properly identify people during crowded events should anything negative happen and someone need to be identified. However, don't squash on people's religious observations. Oh, that's not a good idea. That's a bad idea. Bad idea. All right. Okay, moving on. North Carolina, USA. Registering as married at a hotel makes it so in North Carolina. I did read these beforehand. Still funny. Also makes sense. So, if a man and a woman walk into a hotel in North Carolina and they ask to share a room, they claim that they're married. By common law marriage rules in that state, that man and woman would legally be married because they are outwardly presenting themselves as husband and wife to the public. They are deemed a common law marriage that is honored and valid in North Carolina. So, just fess up that you're not married. That should be fun, though. That is a really good question. Why does it say Coralina? Because whoever spelled this on Canva decided to spell it wrong, and I didn't see it. You have pinpointed this error. I just imagine that it's like Walking Dead, where instead of Carl, it's Coral, North Carolina. I lived in North Carolina for a while. In fact, I lived in Greensboro, North Carolina for quite some time, and I'm very glad that I didn't accidentally do this. Yikes. I do see Virginia up here. Yes. Look at Virginia. Oh, Virginia's spelled wrong too. Oh, Virginia's spelled Virginia. West Virginia is West Virginia. You know what? This map is a big old mistake. Note to self. I don't know who paid for. I don't know who designed that, but I shall not be using that map movement again. Wow. All right. It's illegal to fly a kite in Victoria, Australia. Correct. Well, there's a specific here. It's illegal to fly a kite in a public space if it bothers another person. In fact, you can't even play a game in a public space if it annoys somebody else. There's always that one jerk. There's always that one. So it's actually listed as part of Summary Offenses Act in 1966. I'm pretty sure they don't mind if you do it. So, these laws.
Weird, wild stuff.
Weird, wild stuff. That's what they are. Okay. So, also illegal. Flying a kite is also illegal in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And so lawmakers in 1907 decided to completely strip the capital of flying kites. Now, in 89, it was partially revoked to make it legal to fly it in squares and parks, but don't do it anywhere else. Don't do it. Don't do it. Cambodia. New Year's celebrations in Cambodia got so wild and crazy that the government will not allow for the sale of water pistols leading up to and during its big celebrations. The ban went into place to prevent traffic accidents and public disorder. If somebody is, well, I've seen the traffic in videos in Cambodia. It's wild. But if water gun is going to take you out, maybe you shouldn't be driving. But also, if like 500 people have water guns, it could happen. It could happen. So, any other time of the year, good for a water gun fight, but not New Year's. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. We are headed to Barcelona. It's illegal to be shirtless in Barcelona in an effort to keep the streets of Barcelona free of beachgoers in bikinis and men going shirtless. Lawmakers in the Spanish town have banned anyone from being topless or in a swimsuit in public anywhere but the beach or the pool. This was passed in not 1940, but in 2011, and there are fines. Walking around half naked could cost you up to 260 euros. Wow. Why? Insane. Good grief. All of these things. Oh my gosh. Listen, bikinis, not topless. Topless is topless. And even then, people need to get over this whole ew, naked thing. Good grief. It is illegal to swear in the United Arab Emirates. I would be in trouble. Swearing can get you fined, jailed, or deported. Good grief. Under Article 373 of UAE Penal Code, swearing disgraces the honor or the modesty of a person. Shit. Video illegally banned. So not this isn't just for saying the inappropriate words aloud. It includes indecent physical gestures and extends to your text messages and social media as well. You cannot even use indecent emojis. No eggplants. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Oh, so check it at the door, y'all. Check it at the door. Our favorite place, Russia. What can't you do in Russia? It is illegal to wear lacy undies in Russia. No lace. Arsenic, maybe, but not lace. Theater kids will get it. Russia doesn't want you wearing anything lacy underneath your clothing. In 2014, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, they state that undergarments must be made with a minimum of 6% cotton. Why? For health and safety. Okay. While women across the nations protested, the law is in effect. You can no longer buy lace garments. How they'll know what you have on underneath? We know. You don't wear lacy underpants. Lacy underpants wear you. Wow, that is rough. Yeah, exactly. Who would know? What's really adorable is the whole like protesting thing. Like, I think that should happen. Absolutely. There's a band whose history is awesome. The band's called Pussy Riot, and they're a fantastic. I mean, their stuff in terms of protesting and things for Russia is phenomenal. It's a crazy movement. But I don't think this was going to change. I think Putin just wants to be the only one. I am totally going to get found. All right. Midnight in Japan. Listen, if it hits midnight, it is illegal to dance in the dark after midnight in Japan. So dancing after midnight was banned for generations, as it's just too sinful. Well, actually, it's just too American. It was enacted in 1948 while U.S. soldiers occupied Japan. The ban was placed to stop liberal Americans from corrupting the good citizens of Japan. Honestly, they might not be wrong, but I think we're past it. I think we're past it now. Japan finally... Oh, they did. Well, hold on. They lifted the ban. They mistyped this. I think they said they lifted the ban in 2005. This says 2105. We're not there yet. You can dance after midnight as long... Oh, okay. Here it is. So you can dance after midnight as long as it's not in the dark now. So if people want to, dance around, you're going to have to do it in well-lit nightclubs. I mean, I feel like that's more awkward than anything. Do you guys remember when you go to like high school dances and like at the end of the dance, they flip the lights on and everybody's just like, what the ah! Yeah, that's how that feels, For real. Tell me about it. Do strobe lights count? I don't think so. I doubt it. Bruce Springsteen. Yes, we got Bruce Springsteen theme going on here. Yeah, he needs to be putting his butt on the seats and just he needs to stop Stalin and leave. But I lost my rim shot here. So I'll just do this.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
All right, next. All right. You must hang artwork in Wyoming buildings. In the great state of Wyoming, any public building erected, I didn't write that, somebody else did, must have art displayed valued at 1% of the building's costs. So if you've had a building put together, you have to have art displayed that values 1% of what the building costed. It cannot exceed $100,000, but it has to be at least 1% up to $100,000. And it has to be approved as art. So hanging a picture sketched on a Post-it won't do. So they have to approve it. I agree that art needs to be hung, and I think that's great. And I think that the 1% thing's weird. The fact that it has to be approved as art, also kind of odd. I don't like it. I like modern art, which doesn't typically for a lot of people register as that. I'm not saying that I like stuff that's far, far off the map, but I enjoy a Jackson Pollock now and again. So for those of you art fans, all right, back to France. You cannot die without a pre-purchased burial plot in a part of France. In the town of, I'm going to mispronounce this because there's nothing that French teaches you that like your mouth is just like, what? Why not? It doesn't do this. Sarporen? It's gonna bother me. Now it's gonna really bother me. I gotta get it right.
Sarpouranx.
Okay, Sarpouranx. I'm still gonna mess that up, but I tried. You cannot die within the city limits unless you already have your burial plot purchased in the local cemetery, and that has to do with the fact that the cemetery is full. So the mayor issued an ordinance in 2008, and he said offenders will be severely punished. So this is like the whole phrase that sometimes I tell friends, like, if you die, I'm going to kill you. That's really what this sounds like. You can't die within city limits unless you have bought a burial plot. Apparently outside of the city because it's filled in the city. Wow. Wow. Now, this one I agree with. We're headed to Rome. You must walk your dog daily in Rome. I am all about it. Right? Right, Dusty? Threaten me with a good time. You must walk your dog daily in Rome. Rome's strict laws against animal cruelty, I like it, include the walking of pet dogs. If an owner does not walk their dog once a day at minimum, they could be fined $625, or the equivalent thereof. And the law the law extends to goldfish as well. They can't be walked, but they have to have room to swim. They're not allowed to be kept in bowls, and they have to instead have full-sized aquariums. So, walk your dogs. House your goldfish. Just saying. I'm sure there's other ones too for the animals. I'm good with that. That's not really weird. I mean, the goldfish part's a little, but the dog part, I agree with. Are there the dog police? I don't know. Ruby. All right. New Jersey, everybody's favorite place. You must honk when passing a car in New Jersey. And when driving along the highway, you are legally required to provide an audible warning that you're about to pass a car on the left. And that means whether you're driving on the Garden State Parkway or New Jersey Turnpike, you technically should honk your horn before you pass. I don't understand. I think that would just freak some people out. But here we are. Yes, I know. Things are mispronounced. I don't understand this. How do you... Okay. All right, we're headed to Spain. Spain does not... Spain's a beautiful place, but they despise the fact that you go to the beach and you make sandcastles. It is illegal to build a sandcastle in Spain. You can be fined, and the fines vary by location at their discretion. That's the worrisome part. So on the island of Majorca, for example, you could pay €100, but you could pay up to 1,500 in Galicia. So kids are included in that restriction. So don't let them build sandcastles. Not quite sure. All right. And I think that this is... Nope, almost done. China. It is illegal. Listen, we've had this whole you can't die unless you have a burial plot. You cannot reincarnate without permission. Okay. Tibetan Buddhist monks are not allowed to reincarnate after they die unless they have been granted permission from the government. I don't know how they enforce it, but here we are. So don't come back unless they say you can. Just tossing that out there, don't get in trouble. That assumes that you're a Tibetan Buddhist monk, and I just have a feeling that that's not our target audience. But here we are. Yes, this whole no coming back thing. Don't go. No coming back. Wow. Wowzers. All right. We're almost done. Capri in Italy. It is illegal to leave dog waste on the Isle of Capri, as in many places. But for many dog owners who ignore the law, they're using science to get you. So if you don't pick up your dog's poop, it may be possible, and by that I mean they probably will, use DNA testing to determine the identity of your dog, and then you'll be fined. Here we are. Here we are. So pick it up. Make like a rude boy and pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. That's a very niche joke. Oh, back to Canada. British Columbia, where my co-host from Brew Crime is from, Mike. It is illegal to kill Bigfoot in British Columbia, Canada. Just saying. Don't do it. Just don't go with your Bigfoot call and all that stuff. So when people first began citing Bigfoot in the 1800s, British Columbia decided to make it illegal to kill him, her, it. No one has ever captured proof, but if you should find it and kill it, you're going to be fined up to 250,000 Canadian dollars if you don't have a proper hunting license. I don't know if it's a specific Bigfoot hunting license or a hunting license. And Washington State, just below the border, has a similar law. So don't go hunting. All right, finally, last one. To keep the beaches clean and beachgoers healthy, Portugal has banned peeing in the ocean. I'm not sure how they're going to prove it, to be honest. But it is illegal to pee in the ocean in Portugal. So, wowzers. So don't do that. I'll have to destroy my... No, you can take pictures. You just can't kill them. So, just saying. So don't pee. And did anybody else have like this whole like, I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or if it's true, based off of some pools. They said pools put chemicals in the water, so if you peed in the water, it changed colors. I don't know if that's a real thing, but if it is, yikes. And so those are your weird laws. If you liked them, let me know. You can put a comment below. If you didn't, that's okay too. I thought I'd try something different today for all of you. I'm a poet and didn't know it. Apparently I'm Dr. Seuss today. Wowzers. Yep. You know, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Killer Rabbit podcast, and they were talking about it's a comedy show. Sometimes I just need to not think about much, but they are so funny. But they were talking about the whole concept of like dog poop and like wasting plastic on dog poop, and where does that go? Or you could just let the dog poop disintegrate. And I mean, obviously we don't want things everywhere or issues, but it really comes down to beautification. But I mean, using all the plastic to pick it up, I don't know. It just seems silly to me. I mean, it just decides to be on the ground, so it's part of the world. I think there's ways to do it, and they are coming up with biodegradable stuff. But once you buy the biodegradable plastic bags or biodegradable bags, and then you use it, well, then where do you put it if you don't know? Oh, anyways, woof. Pun intended. Pun intended. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, everybody, you hung in with me, and now we're gonna move on. We're moving on to the next segment of Jodi Arias. The last time that we did it, I tried YouTube, and YouTube was the sound just wasn't great. So we're going back to where we were. Obviously can't speed it up, can't add captions, but doggone it, this sound is better than most of the trials we've been listening to lately that are live and now. So here we are. That is a fair thing. You know, we definitely could reduce in other ways. I don't really want to be surrounded by shit. Well, looks like I'm out of, what country did I just say was illegal? United Arab Emirates. Looks like I'm out now. But yeah, here we are. Yes, there are. I have heard about this. It's interesting. Science is great. I love science. Okay, so let's hop in. I have talked for too long, and we're moving on to the next day of Jodi Arias' testimony.
Before the break, we were talking about this weekend you were spending with Travis and his friends, Chris and Sky Hughes. And specifically, you were talking about the first time you kissed Mr. Alexander. And that was, to my understanding, that was in the room that you were in at the Hughes home. Is that right?
Yes, the bedroom that I was assigned.
Okay. Tell us, you mentioned him coming over, but just kind of describe for us him coming to your room. Just kind of describe for us what happened.
Sure was.
Did he knock on the door? Did he walk in? Just kind of walk us through that.
Before going to bed, he said, I'll come in there.
Too honest, if you look up Jodi Arias anywhere on the internet,
they go to sleep. After they shut their door and
find
go
everything.
into their bedroom and go to sleep.
I'll see if I can find a good website to send you to.
Well, he wanted to wait until they were in their bedroom. So I left the door cracked because I figured we were just going to
All right, Ms. Arias, some of the jurors are having difficulty hearing you.
Oh, sorry. I'll try to speak up. He came into my room at that point, and we started kissing. We sat down on the bed and started kissing. And
Was there conversation first, or did he just come in and start kissing you?
there was no conversation. I thought there was going to be, but there was no conversation.
Sustained.
Did you anticipate that his sole purpose of coming in the room was to kiss you?
Not his sole purpose, but I had a pretty good idea that it might lead to that.
The word kiss or kissing could be taken a whole bunch of different ways, could relate to a simple peck on the cheek to something much more intimate. Could you describe for us the way that he was kissing you?
Yeah, it was more passionate. It wasn't just regular kissing. It was passionate, like French kissing.
Okay. Was he touching you?
Yeah, we were, I don't really recall the specifics, but we were getting intimate. We were making out, basically.
And what do you mean by
Sound effect.
intimate? That could also mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So describe for us what you mean by you're getting intimate.
Ricky Watson, thanks for 2 months.
At that point, we were laying on the bed. We were side by side, facing
Welcome
each
to
other.
the yellow badge.
kissing. That's
Oh,
what I
it's
mean
very
by
high.
intimate
Sorry,
at that point.
that sound is high.
Was he touching any particular parts of your body, or were you just kissing?
I don't really recall that at first.
Sorry, everybody. Didn't mean to
It
blast
began to
your
lead
eardrums
to
out.
more.
And what do you mean by more?
Well, I don't really recall how it happened, but he began to remove my clothes.
And do you recall what you were wearing when he began to remove your clothes?
I was in pajamas of some kind, I think sweats and a t-shirt.
Okay. And this, him taking off your clothes, was that something you were expecting to take place?
No, I thought we were going to kiss and maybe heavily, but that would be the extent of it since this was the first time
Direct.
we were kissing.
When he began to remove your clothing, was that then surprising to you?
It was, well, yeah, it was a little surprising, but it was more, I felt apprehensive, but I was going with
Definitely
it.
direct.
What do you mean you felt
I was
apprehensive?
going with it.
Well, I wasn't expecting that, so I didn't want to tell him no, so I just kept going with it.
Why didn't you want to tell him no?
I didn't want to do anything that would maybe displease him, not because
Oh,
I
come
feared
now.
like he would get angry or anything, but I didn't want him to feel rejected, and I didn't want him to get his feelings hurt, or I didn't want to spoil
Not
the
yet.
mood, sort of
Not
like
yet.
that. We were getting along, we had some kind of chemistry. I just didn't want to like snuff it out right then by saying stop, I guess. That was my thought.
Why would rejecting him at that point in time be such a big deal to you?
At that point in time, I was not really accustomed to saying no. I wasn't,
You don't say.
I have a lot more backbone now than I used to. It was hard for me to tell somebody no. So even though it was uncomfortable, I just kept going with it.
So the discomfort you were feeling in having your clothes removed was less burdensome to you than the discomfort you would feel saying no. Is that what? Is that what we're hearing?
Overruled.
I can't really say one way or another because I wouldn't know because I couldn't make the comparison, but at the time it felt more uncomfortable to say, to push him off of me or something. I mean, he wasn't aggressive, but he was definitely doing the initiating at that point, and I just kept going for it.
I just kept going for it.
Did he, on this occasion, wind up removing your clothes?
Yes,
All your clothes?
yes.
Oh,
At this point in time, was Mr. Alexander dressed?
Yes.
Did that change?
Not really. I think he kept his garments on that he was wearing.
And you say garments. What are you referring to?
Garments they're called temple garments, and it's like a
He was
t-shirt
wearing-
and underwear, sort of kind of like briefs. They're sort of an off-white color.
Is that what he came in wearing, or just those, or was he wearing other things?
No, he had his temple garments on under, I think, sweats. I don't remember if he had just the shirt, but I think he was wearing pajamas over those.
And whatever else he was wearing over his garments, did he take those items off, or did you?
I don't recall. I know I didn't.
Okay.
It might have been a joint effort, but I didn't solely
That the
remove
producer
them.
back there in the
I don't
corner with the
remember.
microphone on. I mean, if it is, then
So after
Go
you
for
are undressed and Mr. Alexander is in his undergarments, what happened?
This is embarrassing.
is it?
Sustained.
Is it embarrassing for you to talk about this?
Overruled.
Yes.
I understand how it might be, but it's important
I don't think
to
Kurt
share this
meant
with
that.
us. So if you could, please tell us what happened next.
He began to perform oral sex on me.
I would be too.
And
To be honest with you.
was this comfortable? You mentioned earlier that you had a certain level of discomfort with this act, the being naked. Were you uncomfortable while this oral sex was going on?
I was uncomfortable. It was dark. I mean, the lights were off, so like that might have made it a little bit more, a little more tolerable. But it was, I don't know. I mean, he knew what he was doing for sure, but it was just, it felt like too much too soon. And I mean, I couldn't exactly rewind at that point, you know?
Why not? Did you voice your displeasure with the events?
No, I can't say there was displeasure, but it was uncomfortable. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
well, let me rephrase my question then. Did you voice your discomfort to him?
No, I didn't want to give him that impression.
Why not?
Sustained.
Why not, Ms. Arias?
Why not? What? I'm sorry.
Why didn't you voice your discomfort?
I didn't want him to have that impression. I wanted to at least appear like I was enjoying it as much as he seemed to be.
Wow.
So you were attempting to give him the impression
I think they were trying
you were
to
enjoying
make him
things.
look like he's the
Yes.
aggressor.
And why were you interested in doing that?
I guess it would have seemed to me to be unattractive for for me to say anything different or anything negative about the experience.
Okay. What happened after he performed oral sex upon you?
He asked for reciprocation.
And how did that request make you feel?
At that point, I had taken it that far. I was kind of glad he was done, and I was just willing to reciprocate at that point.
And so we're clear when you say reciprocate, does that mean perform oral sex upon him?
Yes.
Right on time. We're not that
And
far in.
did he remove his
Like
garments at that
11,
time,
12
or
minutes
how
in.
did that occur?
I don't know if
Awkward turtle.
the garments at the bottom came all the way off or just pushed down. The shirt remained on, and
And yeah, what?
yeah, I don't remember what happened with the bottom. I think they obviously came down some. I don't know if they came all the way off or not. I can't remember.
Did he perform, or excuse me, did you perform oral sex upon him at that time?
Yes.
Did he ejaculate?
Yes.
Where?
In my mouth.
This court reporter
What
has
happened
the
after he
best poker
ejaculated?
face. I will never play
I
a game
think
of
we
poker
fell
with him,
asleep.
ever.
I don't recall getting dressed again. I don't even recall getting with blankets, but when I woke up, we were both covered with blankets.
Okay. You were both in the same bedroom on your bed?
Yes.
And were you dressed?
When I woke up, not initially, but I put my pajamas back on.
What happened next?
I don't remember what time I woke up, but it was before everyone else did. I remember falling asleep. I think he might have woken up because I woke up and he got dressed and left the room.
And from what you told us earlier, this incident occurred Saturday night, and the next morning would have been Sunday morning, the day you were to go to church. Is that correct?
Yes.
What happened from that point in time on?
Do you mean that morning?
Yes. When you were telling us how he eventually left, got dressed and left your bedroom. What happened from that point?
Basically, the rest of the household began to wake up. I hadn't been to church since I was about 11, so I didn't really have church clothes. I went about 2 dresses before heading out there. I asked Sky which one would be more appropriate. So then I put on an outfit, and the rest of the household was getting ready for church. And then we took separate cars. I took my car. I think Travis rode with me on that one over, and I can't remember who else rode with me. Maybe it was Jeff. And the Hugheses took their own vehicle.
And what was the service like? Was there a particular subject matter of the service that day?
I don't recall exactly what was said, but I do remember that one of the speakers was Sky's brother, Zion, who had just gotten back from his mission. So he was giving a talk related to maybe something related. I don't remember the topic.
Something related to what?
It would have been related to his topic, but
I mean, I've done one to my dorm room,
given a
but
topic
not
to
to
talk
church.
about, and I don't recall what the
grief.
subject matter was. But he was speaking from the podium.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
After, prior to going to church, did you and Mr. Alexander speak about this incident the night before?
No.
Did you speak about the incident that day after church?
No.
What happened after the church services?
We had the church service and I rode back. Well, I drove back in my car. Travis rode shotgun. Jeff was behind me and Sky was behind Travis. We were driving back and she found in the back of my seat, she found a portfolio of my photography and she was flipping through it. And there was a photograph of Daryl in that photo that I had taken a headshot of him, kind of growling at the camera. He looked gruff and he was unshaven and it was in black and white. It looked really cool and she showed it to Travis. So that was the first time Travis saw Daryl. So
Me too.
that was, I don't know, I kind of lost track of the question, I'm sorry.
Okay. Before you left, I assume from what you're telling us before that you left the Hughes' home on that Sunday, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Before leaving, and by leaving the Hughes' home, you're going to return to Palm Desert, right?
Yes.
Were you ever alone with Mr. Alexander prior to you leaving the home? From the time you went to church to the time you left the home, were the two of you ever alone together?
Not that I recall. Everyone was home.
So you didn't have a chance to speak about this incident with him then, is that correct?
I may have had an opportunity if I'd wanted to pull him aside, but it was not discussed.
When you left the home, how did you and Travis part ways? Were you expecting to call each other or what was the?
He walked me out to my car and kissed me and I got in the car and drove off.
Okay. Back to Palm Desert.
Yeah, I stopped and got gas and I think I went to Starbucks and then I went back to Palm Desert.
All right. When did you next hear from Mr. Alexander?
I would say it would either have been that night or Monday night.
And what was the means that you conducted or contacted Mr. Alexander? Did he call you? Was it in person?
We were calling each other back and forth at that point, so I don't remember who called who. But it was over the phone.
Okay. When you spoke, was there conversation related to this incident that evening?
There may have been some reference to it, but we mostly talked about church and he wanted to know how I liked it.
Okay.
Hopefully
At
she
this
didn't
point
take
in
to
time,
Poland.
When you returned from Palm Desert, you've been to church. Have any religious officials from the Mormon Church contacted you at this point in time?
No, not yet.
When did that occur?
Well, Travis gave me a Book of Mormon on Wednesday, and I think around that same time he contacted the church, and I don't know how it works, but he gave them my information so that some missionaries in that area could come to my house.
Join
You
us.
mentioned Travis gave you a Book of Mormon on Wednesday. Was this the Wednesday following the Sunday that you left the Hughes'?
Yes.
And where did you see Mr. Alexander on Wednesday?
He was leaving
It's day
Riverside
two
and driving back to Mesa.
Yeah,
And
I think it's
Palm
day
Desert
2.
is on
It's
that
still day
stretch.
2.
That's on the I-10. And he called me on the way and wanted to meet with me so that he could give me a copy of the Book of Mormon. And I agreed to meet with him. I didn't really know where we could meet though, because Daryl was home and I didn't want to bring some guy over.
So where did you wind up meeting
We-
Mr. Alexander?
We ended up meeting at a Starbucks, which was near my house.
And I feel like that needs to be
Is
celebrated.
this where he gave you the Book of Mormon?
Yes.
Like the musical?
Did you
Soundtrack?
have a conversation at this Starbucks?
Yes.
And what was the subject matter of this conversation?
He didn't give me the Book of Mormon right away. He had Napoleon with him, which was his dog. He's a black pug on a leash. And I don't remember where Napoleon was, but we went inside the store to get drinks.
That's not responsive. She was asked what was the subject.
I'm sorry.
Sustained.
Okay. You're in the Starbucks. He has.
He's on like his third yellow legal pad.
What is the subject matter of the conversation inside the Starbucks?
The word of wisdom, but we were sitting outside in the shade. It was a little hot, but it was still somewhat, it was cooler in the
Hello,
shade.
puppet.
Okay. So you were at the Starbucks, just sitting outside. You were talking about the word of wisdom, right?
Yes.
Okay. And for those of us who are not familiar, what is to your understanding at that point in time, what is the word of wisdom?
The word of wisdom is LDS doctrine that states it prohibits the consumption of coffee, tea, alcohol, tobacco, and illegal drugs.
Do those same words relate to the vow of chastity, or is that something completely different?
The law of chastity is different from the word of wisdom.
Okay.
There are two separate commandments.
After the two of you are at Starbucks, outside, what happens next?
Well, we discussed the word of wisdom a little more because he was drinking chai iced tea. But he said that doesn't count. And I asked him why, and he explained his reasons. I was drinking a latte, an iced latte. And so as our conversation progressed, it sort of moved into a more, I don't know how to explain it, but basically he expressed that he was horny, is what he said.
Okay.
All right.
And once he made this expression, did you remain at the Starbucks or did you go elsewhere?
Well, he said, I wish there was somewhere we could go, and I said, I'm sorry.
Sustained.
We both were trying to figure out a place where we could go. So I don't know why, but I was wanting to go with him also to find some place. So we went in our respective cars. We drove to a park near Starbucks. It was between my house and Starbucks, and it was the middle of a school day, so nobody was there. There was a parking lot there, and we pulled up into the parking lot, and he left Napoleon in the car with the air conditioner on and the windows rolled up, and he came into my car and sat in the passenger seat.
It's very important that I play this really quickly because Lisa has arrived.
Hello, Poppy.
And
And we continue.
after he sat in the passenger seat, you mentioned that he expressed that he was, to use your words, horny, right?
Yes.
What was the point of him getting in your car at the park, to your understanding?
I didn't know at first. I mean, my car was very,
Objection, not responsive. She knows the point.
I did not know the point of that.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know what he was expecting.
Ms. Arias, wait for a question.
I apologize.
Jodi, stop.
When he got in the car,
I'm talking to her from like 10 years ago.
did he voice or convey an interest in engaging in some sort of sexual activity with you in the car?
Yes.
What sort of activity, to your understanding, was he interested in?
Oral sex.
And so we're clear, was that oral sex that you were to be performing on him or him performing on you?
He wanted to receive it.
Did you comply?
Yes.
That must be her aunt and her mom, and I think they're twins.
Why?
I think I'm Captain Obvious on that front.
I felt an attraction to him, and the feeling was mutual, and I just wanted to,
Sweet. Thank
I don't
you.
know, I wanted to do what he wanted to do.
I like validation.
You wanted to do what he wanted to do.
Yes.
Second, me.
At this point, Juan's just trying
Why?
to throw Kirk off, like his timing. Lisa,
I liked
2
him.
months. You got your yellow badge.
Prior to, in between the first incident and
Thank you.
the home of Chris and Sky Hughes,
Hello, pulpit.
where oral sex took place, and the time that you were in the park, you had conversed with Mr. Alexander a few times, correct?
Yes.
During those conversations, did you ever voice your discomfort about what happened that Saturday night in the Hughes home?
No, I didn't.
Did oral sex take place in your car?
Yes.
Did he ejaculate?
Yes.
Where?
I don't remember, actually.
Okay. After he ejaculated, what happened from that point on?
He fixed the visor mirror and pulled his pants back up.
What do you mean he fixed the visor mirror?
He had it flipped. Well, when I started, he flipped the visor down and angled the mirror, I guess, to get
When you started what?
oral sex.
What happened then when, after he fixed the mirror, did you guys hang out for a longer, go to the park? What did you do?
No, I guess I was under the impression that we were,
Objection, not responsive. What did you do?
Sustained.
What did you do? What happened?
we parted ways.
What's that?
We parted ways.
Immediately? Within minutes?
Yes.
How did you feel after that encounter?
I don't
This
I don't
is what she
recall
wanted her
feeling
defense to be.
really bad, maybe just a little deflated. He refused to kiss me afterward because he said it was gross. Maybe that's because I was just performing oral sex, but that's what he said. And so he kissed me on the cheek and left.
And I know this might be hard for you, but I kind of want you to address my question. How did you feel afterwards?
Ask and answer a proper question as to how counsel could possibly know how she feels.
He's asking her how
After Mr. Alexander departed,
Black.
how did you feel about the fact that you had just performed oral sex upon him?
Your Honor, I object!
I felt a little
Because it's devastating.
disappointed with myself, but
Good call!
it's hard to describe. Like, I was attracted to him, he was attracted to me. He obviously derived a lot of pleasure from that, so that I took as a good sign. But again, I was just thinking it was a little bit too much too soon. I've been intimate before, but not that quickly. So
So you were disappointed in yourself being that intimate that early on in your relationship?
yeah, it wasn't so much the intimacy, but the rapidness, the timing, I guess you could say. And, you know, I'd been with Daryl 4.5 years, so he was the only person I'd known for that time. So this was somewhat foreign, but just, you know, but it was, but it wasn't, if that makes sense.
Okay.
No.
To clarify too, at this point in time, this encounter in the park, were you in love with Mr. Alexander?
No.
After he departed, what did you do?
I drove home and got ready for work. He left me a voicemail
Okay. On your cell phone or on a home
Yes.
phone?
on my cell phone.
Okay. And what was the subject matter of that voicemail?
He was expressing his thoughts.
Objection, hearsay, what was the subject matter?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. The incident, I guess, would be the
Objection.
subject matter.
Question before her.
When you're talking about the subject matter was the oral sex that just took place?
Objection, meeting.
Yes or no?
Yes, I guess.
And if you can characterize it, was he expressing happiness, gratitude about the event?
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
How would you characterize it?
I'm not sure how.
How would you characterize it?
I would say that he was, I'm trying to think how to characterize it without saying what he said.
Well, let me ask you this. Did he voice displeasure with what took place?
He voiced displeasure with himself.
Okay. Was that related to the fact that this incident took place, or how he treated you?
Both.
Okay. You received this voicemail before you went to work that day, right?
I think I received it while I was working.
Okay. Do you recall, were you working an evening shift, or do you recall what hours you were working?
I was working afternoon, evening.
And at this point in time, you were living a home in the Palm Desert home by yourself. Is that right?
Daryl was still there. We're in separate bedrooms at all times at that point.
I
Were
think it
you
was all hers.
were you and Daryl at a place where you were
I think she said what
friends,
she wanted her
friendly,
to
or was it a
be,
caustic
and
environment?
Kirk had
It was
to
not
go with
caustic.
it.
It was friendly, just no longer intimate.
Okay. Did you wind up speaking, when was the next time after this incident in the car that you wound up speaking to Mr. Alexander?
It would have either been that night or the following night.
2 hours later.
You mentioned a voicemail where he was somewhat, I guess, apologetic for how he treated you and what took place. Did you ever?
Objection, meeting is in fact not evidence in the question, it's not what you said.
She just testified that that's exactly what he's expressed.
Finish your question.
Were you given the opportunity to I should say this way, did you ever take advantage of the opportunity to express your displeasure or discomfort with what had been taking place sexually in your relationship?
Yes, somewhat.
What do you mean by somewhat?
I sent him a response in response to his voicemail. I
Okay,
sent him an email.
okay.
Order in the court.
After this encounter in the car, are you still speaking with Mr. Alexander? How frequently are you speaking to Mr. Alexander?
Almost every night.
And are these quick conversations or these extensive conversations?
These are long conversations, hours.
It wasn't me.
Are these conversations, I understand that each one's probably somewhat unique, but were they spiritual in nature?
Yes, they were spiritual.
Were they sexual in nature?
Yes. Flirty, I'd say.
Okay. Flirty?
Yes.
Okay. And when was the next time, and Mr. Alexander, to your understanding, was still living in Mesa, right?
Yes.
When was the next point in time that you saw Mr. Alexander?
It would have been in October
October of
2006.
2006. Okay. And when did this meeting take place?
I don't remember the exact date. There are photos
Okay.
with the dates,
Well,
but
let me ask you this. Where did this meeting take place?
we met
I
up
understand.
in Ehrenberg. I think it's in
Have a
California,
good one.
technically.
Okay.
It's right on the border.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's right on the border
Maybe.
Of,
of California and Arizona.
okay. And how much later was this meeting? Was this weeks later, days later, when you met in Ehrenberg from the incident in the park in your car?
I would say it was about a month later.
Okay. So you didn't physically see him for about a month, but you spoke every day on the phone?
Yes,
nearly every
almost every day.
Okay.
I'm sending good vibes.
And as a result of
I'm
those
so sorry.
conversations, well, let me ask you this, because we talked about some Mormon officials coming to your home. Did that begin after this incident of oral sex in the park?
Yes,
But was that also before you went to Ehrenberg?
yes.
Okay. What were these, I say Mormon officials, but are these what we would call missionaries?
Yes.
How often would these missionaries come to your home?
I think they came on average 2 times a week.
And what went on when they came to your home?
The first time they came, I think they had made an appointment. They invited me to church every week. They have a system in the Mormon church when you're introducing somebody to the church for the first time. They're
Yes.
called discussions, and there are
2013. The crime happened in 2008.
there's a discussion you take first, and then second, third, and on, which sort of introduces you to the church, how it was founded, truths that they believe in.
Okay. Let me ask you, as part of this, these meetings and this process, those meetings you were having with the missionaries, and I brought up earlier the vow of chastity. Did they speak to you about that?
No. Not that I recall.
Okay. When did you learn of the vow of chastity, to your recollection?
Yes. When?
I think actually prior to my baptism, those things were briefly explained to me. They're young men, so they didn't really get into detail.
Okay. So
What
from your
details
perspective,
required?
this describe, since you've been there,
Like,
describe
do the
for
opposite of
us.
Nike and just don't.
Ehrenberg, is this
End of
a
conversation.
big town? Was there a particular reason why you were going there? What was the point of meeting in Ehrenberg?
Yes, the point was so we could spend time together, and it was a halfway point, so he didn't have to drive all the way to California, because he hadn't planned to come out to California until the following month, and I'd never been to.
I'll mention this now. You correct. For those of you who've been watching the trial for Melly with Brandi, she just tweeted, "Write down all your questions because when we finish up the Melly trial, Fredo Bang, I haven't watched much, but he's going to be joining Brandi live when the trial wraps. So, boop-a-doop, there you go." And as I said on Twitter, Brandi secures more guest speakers or more guests than Oprah. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Arizona, so I wasn't even thinking of going to Arizona, but Ehrenberg was about halfway.
Okay. And what was the plan? What were you, from your impression, what were you going to do in Ehrenberg?
We were going to hang out, and we'd talked extensively over the month, so I thought there would be more conversation, probably some intimacy that was hinted at heavily, so that was expected.
What do you mean the intimacy was heavily hinted at? Without telling me what he said, did he express a desire to be
no other
intimate
news
with you again?
channel could
Yes.
get Mark Shiner.
I'm a little
These are-
confused because it seemed like you had talked to us before about, after this incident in the park, how Mr. Alexander had expressed some misgivings about what happened. Did he express those misgivings before meeting you in Ehrenberg?
No, after that,
Objection.
those,
Yes. Question.
She hasn't even got a word out of her mouth.
Said no.
Ask another question.
You were going to Ehrenberg with the idea that, at least partially, that some intimate encounters might take place.
yes,
And Mr. Alexander never expressed any misgivings about those encounters occurring.
no, that was kind of the purpose of the trip.
Roxanne.
And by intimate encounters, what, to your understanding, were you expecting, at least from the sexually speaking?
Maybe more of the same as before, but nothing further than that. And that's kind of pretty far, but nothing beyond that.
Okay, so at this point in time, based on what you told us, it's our understanding that you had not had penile vaginal intercourse with Mr. Alexander. Is
No.
that correct? That's what she said. And it would also be our understanding that you had not had anal sexual intercourse with Mr. Alexander. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell us about Ehrenberg. Did you share one hotel room, or did you each have your own room?
We had one motel room.
Okay. And when did you arrive in Ehrenberg?
I got there later than him because I had to work, and so I arrived late at night. And
Okay. Was this Friday night? Was it Saturday night?
I think it was either Thursday or Friday night. I don't remember my exact schedule, but
Well, let me ask you this. How many nights were you to spend in Ehrenberg?
2.
Tell us what happened when you arrived.
When I arrived, when I arrived, he came to the door and let me in, and then brought me over to bed, and we just started kissing.
Okay. I assume then that he was already in the room.
Yes, he got the room.
Okay. You said you started kissing. Was there conversation first, or did it immediately lead to kissing?
No, we had some conversation over the phone on the way there.
Okay.
So when I arrived, it was physical right away.
Okay. And we talked earlier, I mentioned earlier how kissing could mean different things. Could be the friendly to the passionate. What sort of kissing was this?
Passionate.
Was he attempting to remove your clothing?
Yes, we both were taking off our clothes, I think.
Okay. At this point in time, was this level of intimacy something that you felt comfortable with?
At this point, I was a little more comfortable with it because we had been talking for a long time and I felt like I knew him better. And also, I don't think I was as nervous because it wasn't the first time that we were like that.
Okay. In your mind, was this supposed to be a romantic weekend, if you will?
Yes,
Did it turn out to be that?
not too much romance. It wasn't everything I was expecting, but I didn't have high expectations. But we didn't connect really like we did on the phone.
Judge, do we want to?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Ms. Arias, you are still under oath. Do you understand?
Yes.
Day 3.
You may proceed with direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before we do so, we'd be moving to admit Exhibit 428, the recorded phone call between Ms. Arias and Mr. Alexander testified to regarding Mr. Neumeister and just that conversation.
Any objection?
Pursuant to the record, we've made no objection.
Exhibit 428 is admitted.
Good morning, Ms. Arias.
Good morning.
Yesterday, when we spoke, when we ended yesterday, I guess, we were talking about the time you spent, we were just getting into, I guess, the time you spent with Mr. Alexander in Ehrenberg, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get into that a little bit, let me back up. Could you describe the town for Ehrenberg as it was back in October 2006 when you were there?
I don't recall its size, but it was very small. I think there was only 1 or 2 exits maybe. And it's in the middle of the desert. I think it's actually in California, but it's right on the border.
Apart from the midpoint that you described yesterday being a midpoint between you and Mr. Alexander, was there any other particular reason or activity that you were going to go to Ehrenberg?
I was driving out there specifically to hang out with Travis.
But when you got there, there wasn't a particular lake or a particular site, park, or whatever that you were going to go to?
No, not that I was aware of or that we had planned. It's not exactly a tourist destination.
Okay. Now, yesterday you began to tell us about arriving at the hotel room, and I believe your words were making out with Mr. Alexander, right? Yes. Okay. If you could just kind of describe and this was within minutes of you arriving, to our understanding?
Yes, it happened pretty quickly.
Okay. Just begin again describing what happened during this makeout session as you describe it.
You mean like in detail?
Yes.
Well, he opened the door for me because he had the room key. And he took my hand and walked me over to the bed, sort of. He kind of pulled me, but walked me. And I went willingly, of course. We started kissing. It got a little more intense, a little more passionate, and then soon we were both nude on the bed. And there were certain things that he said that, well, like it's not, I don't know, we didn't have intercourse, so to speak. There was oral sex that weekend, but and that particular day, we did what I guess he called, at that time he called it grinding. So it's kind of like, you know, just being together, but not actually having intercourse. That's something that I guess a lot of Mormons do, but they're not supposed to. There are different terms for it. Like the provo push, and that's a Mormon implication, because it's in Utah. This is what I learned. So,
Objection, no, we don't spoke, she was asking what they did.
I'm sorry.
Okay, besides the grinding and the oral sex, you said you didn't have intercourse during this encounter, this first encounter.
Not vaginal intercourse or the,
Did you have anal intercourse?
no,
Just oral sex?
yes. Mhm.
And this would have been when, recount for us, was this Thursday evening?
Yesterday, I couldn't remember whether it was Thursday or Friday, but I remember it was Thursday because we spent 2 nights there and he had to leave on Saturday.
So you spent Thursday and Friday night together, he left on Saturday?
Yes, we both parted ways on Saturday.
Okay. So after this first encounter where,
What am I pausing for? Is Brandi coming on? Because if Brandi is, I'll pause it when she pops on. I shall. Of course I will.
there was oral sex, and were you giving or receiving the oral sex?
Both.
After this encounter, what happened? What did you do after this?
She's on a
over.
boat. She's on a boat.
There wasn't really anything to do for a while. That night we stayed in the room. Eventually went to sleep. He
That thing.
just flipped on the TV and we watched, it might've been Friday night, but we watched some game shows, Deal or No Deal, different things. He was just flipping through the channels.
Did you engage in any more sexual activity on Thursday night?
Not after that.
The next day, you wake up. What do you do? Do you go out and do something, or what happens?
The next day, we were trying to find some way to spend the day. And the town of Blythe is near Ehrenberg, so we decided to drive to Blythe because there was a small movie theater there, and we watched a movie. We went to Sizzler, got something to eat.
Ah, the Sizzler.
Let me ask you this. Did you engage in any sexual behavior before you went to the movie?
I don't remember.
Did you engage in any sexual behavior after the movie?
Yes.
And what behavior did you engage in?
That was oral sex.
Was this again mutual?
Yes.
You mentioned previously that you saw this as somewhat of a romantic weekend with Travis. Was that what it was turning out to be?
No.
When you weren't engaged in sexual activity, how was he treating you?
He wasn't treating me bad. He just seemed checked out. You know, the whole time we were checked in, he was just kind of distant. We connected, I thought we connected a lot over the phone, and it was different when we were together.
How?
Well, over the phone, we would talk for hours at a time about things, not just about sex, but other things, things of a spiritual nature and
Sure.
just every subject that you could imagine, pleasant things. And we were discovering things that we had in common in ways we were different. And when we went to Ehrenberg, I was expecting the same kind of energy or connection, but
See,
it would just be
Ricky.
in person. There wasn't much of a mental or emotional connection like there was on the phone. It was just primarily physical.
What's that?
Primarily physical.
And if you could do us a favor and speak up again, I know
Sorry.
I'm having trouble hearing you. So. Were, at this point in time, were you and Mr. Alexander, would you consider yourselves to be in a relationship?
No, it wasn't anything defined. We were sort of seeing each other, but we were definitely not boyfriend, girlfriend.
How many, well, you said how many sexual interactions did you have with Mr. Alexander over this time in Ehrenberg?
I would say 3. I mean, total, if you just,
Okay. And these were all instances of oral sex?
No, like the first night it was the grinding and the next night was oral sex.
Okay. And what was the third encounter?
It was oral sex also. It was before we left.
Okay. Did he ever express a desire during this weekend to engage in anal sex with you?
Yes.
And did he, over the course of that weekend in Ehrenberg, express a desire to have vaginal sex with you?
No.
But it appears, based on what you've told us, you declined his desire to have anal sex. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I didn't. We did not have anal sex.
Okay. In expressing his desire for that, was that something he did repeatedly, or is that something that just came up one time?
It didn't just come up one time. He wasn't overly persistent about it, but it was somewhat repeatedly.
Okay. Apart from going to a movie and out to eat in Blythe, as you just described, what else, and the sexual encounters, what else did you do to pass the time?
Well, we made music CDs, or he made CDs on his computer with his music,
Aw,
some
a
music that he
mixtape.
liked that he was
I made a
making for me.
mixtape.
He shared more things from the Book of Mormon with me.
I couldn't hit it fast
Um,
enough.
What else did we do? Mostly it involved, we weren't in Blythe, he was watching television other than those other two activities.
Now, and at this point in time, October 2006, you have received several visits from the missionaries, right? From where you described
Yes.
it? Is that, okay.
Yes, by that time.
Had you had occasion to, whether it's through the missionaries, through Mr. Alexander, through church visits, through your own readings, had you ever learned about what we're calling the vow of chastity?
It was
At this point in
mentioned.
time?
It was mentioned to me, not in detail.
And in October of 2006, when you're not Blythe, but in Ehrenberg with Mr. Alexander, what was your understanding of that vow?
According to the missionaries, they sort of glossed over it, and they didn't really gloss over it, but
She's saying they glossed over it as if she didn't really know what it
My
was, therefore all this was okay.
What
Pretty
was
sure
your
chastity is
understanding, not telling us what somebody said to you, but what was your understanding of what the vow meant, what
Before I say
it
anything.
prohibited?
no premarital sex.
And did you have an understanding of how that was defined within the law? I mean, did it mean no penile vaginal intercourse? Did it mean no kissing? What did that mean to your understanding?
Well, it was explained to me by Travis.
Objection. What is your understanding? That was telling
Say.
What was your understanding?
My understanding was that it meant that vaginal sex was off limits and everything else was more or less okay.
And who gave you that understanding?
Game on.
Travis did.
Now, you talked about departing, both you and Mr. Alexander leaving Saturday morning. Tell us about that.
Saturday morning, we got breakfast at the neighboring truck stop restaurant. Again, there wasn't much connection. There wasn't a lot of conversation.
I'm reading the vow of chastity here, and it says
I'm sorry, I
that
forgot the question.
sexual sins are more serious than any
Well,
other
what I'm
sin.
asking you is describe for us
murder and
the
denying the
Saturday
Holy
morning when you left. You said you had breakfast.
Jodi?
What happened? Who left first?
Oh, okay.
There.
After breakfast,
A quick Google.
we left at the same time. We checked out, and I took a picture of him. He was in a suit and tie. He had to go to a Super Saturday here in Phoenix. It was one of the regional events in prepaid legal. And so he hit the road for from Phoenix, and I went back to Palm Desert.
And how far a drive was Palm Desert from Ehrenberg, as best you can recall?
I want to say 3 hours, maybe somewhere around that mark.
Tell us how you felt leaving Ehrenberg that Saturday morning and driving back.
Well, when we parted, there wasn't a lot of affection, so I kind of felt disappointed, not upset, just kind of bummed out a little bit. I don't know, kind of felt stupid.
Stupid how?
I was replaying the weekend, or it was my weekend. I was replaying that weekend, and I kind of wish things had gone a little bit differently.
What do you mean by that?
Maybe just, I wish that we had had more of a connection, a meeting of minds rather. Well, I didn't dislike the physical part, but it seemed like it was missing an important element.
Can you imagine
What important
somebody
element
just
was it missing?
staring at you as they testified?
The emotion and, like I said, just the mental connection, some kind of being on the same page, so to speak.
So you didn't feel, as you were leaving, you didn't feel any kind of emotional connection or like you had grown closer with Mr. Alexander. Is that what you're telling us?
I didn't feel like we'd grown closer. He seemed more distant.
How did you feel in retrospect about the sexual behavior you engaged in with Mr. Alexander? Do you feel okay? Was it still too far, too soon?
It didn't feel like too much too soon anymore because over that month we had really gotten to know each other very well. I developed feelings for him, and it just seemed, it was confusing though, even though it wasn't, it was a little confusing, the sex.
What do you mean? What was confusing about it?
Well, I mean, I guess just where the line should be drawn, I guess.
And what do you mean by line? Your line, the vow of chastity, what kind of line are you speaking of?
Well, to me, sex is sex. There's just different ways to have sex. And it seemed like Travis was kind of, I don't know how to put it, but it just seemed like he sort of had like the Bill Clinton version, whereas over here, it seemed like, oral and anal sex were also sex to me, but not for him.
And the line that you're talking about, that line of demarcation, really sounds like that dealt with the vow of chastity. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah.
When you were reflecting back on the weekend on your way back to Palm Desert, did you consider your actions, and your own, not his, but your own actions as it relates to that vow of chastity?
I considered it.
And how did you feel about that?
Well, I trusted what I was told by him, so I didn't feel like we were sinning. I felt a little bit, I hate to put it this way, but I felt a little bit used. But I knew I had gone there on my own willingly, so.
What do you mean, though, that you've felt used?
Well, he gets a hotel room, I show up, we hang out, we have sex. He's not really there presently, he's not mentally present. I'm getting a lot of attention, but only while we're engaging in sexual activity. And then we check out and he takes off. And I kind of felt like a prostitute, sort of.
You didn't feel real good about the relationship or how he treated you at that point, right?
I was more upset with myself. I didn't feel like he mistreated me, but I didn't feel like he was treating me as well as he had been for that entire month.
Okay. Do you hear from, you discussed earlier what was seemingly near daily contact with Mr. Alexander on the phone in the evenings. Did you speak with him that Saturday evening when you got back home?
No, I called him later, but he didn't return my call.
Did you hear from him on Sunday?
No, I called him one more time Sunday evening, left a voicemail, and he didn't return my call.
Was that abnormal for him not to return your call?
Maybe one night, not really. I did want to know if he made it home safely. But I wasn't trying to be his mother, but I was concerned about if he made it back safely. Sunday night, he began to call me very late at night by this point. So I would leave a voicemail if I was going to sleep, and sometimes he wouldn't call me back if I told him I had to sleep. Sometimes he would call anyway and wake me up. But by Monday morning, when he had not returned both of my calls.
Well, let me back up a step and ask you this. You said on Saturday, you're driving home, you're feeling used, you call him Saturday night, you don't get a return call. How are you feeling Sunday or about the weekend? Are you feeling the same way? Have your feelings changed on Sunday before?
They hadn't really changed. I was trying not to think about it much or put too much thought into it or overanalyze it.
After feeling the way you did on Saturday when you came back, when you were driving back and feeling the same way Sunday, why would you want to speak with him at all?
I had feelings for him.
Were you in love with him at that time?
I wouldn't say in love, but I had warm feelings for him, still sort of in the crush realm, but a little stronger, I'd say.
So those feelings for him were more prominent than your feelings for yourself about being used. Is that what you're telling us?
Just reading.
Answer.
Can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
You told us a few moments ago how you felt used as you were driving back from Ehrenberg. But you also told us that you had feelings for Mr. Alexander, and that's why you were reaching out to him on Saturday evening and Sunday evening. What I'm asking you is if your feelings for Mr. Alexander were stronger than your feelings for being used.
Yes, they were.
When you did not hear from him over these 2 days, how did your feelings about being used, did they become stronger? Did they become weaker?
I think I began to think, well, I sent him a text message again on Monday. So by that time, he still didn't return any of those 3 attempts. So by that point, I was beginning to think that I had been very stupid and he got what he wanted and he wasn't interested in me anymore.
And I feel like that needs to be celebrated.
When you started feeling like stupid and he got what he wanted and he wasn't interested in you anymore, were you then in a position that you wanted to write him off, or were you in a position where you wanted to hear from him?
I can't say really either. I wasn't thinking of writing him off. I think if he was
she
moving
wrote
on, I would
plenty.
have liked to at least have known.
Okay. When did you get a response, if at all, from Mr. Alexander?
It would have been Tuesday evening. I was at a business briefing and he called during the middle of that and I didn't hear my phone because it was turned off, or the ringer was turned off. And so I checked afterward and he had called and left me a very nice voicemail.
Did you wind up talking with Mr. Alexander after he left the voicemail?
Yes, I called him after the meeting.
I want to know what he said, but did your conversation with him then make you feel less like you were used when you were in Ehrenberg?
Yes, it was more reassuring. He wasn't reassuring me, but the nature of the call was reassuring to me.
Did you ever express your feelings to him about how you felt used when you were driving home?
No.
What was that?
No.
Why not?
I didn't want to make him feel bad.
need to find
I
another
also was telling myself that maybe that was just all in my head and that's, I was misinterpreting it or overanalyzing it and it wasn't that big of a deal.
So it sounds like after this phone conversation you have on Tuesday, everything is back to status quo in terms of your feelings towards Mr. Alexander. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Do these phone calls we heard about these long spiritual conversations, do they then begin again after this call on Tuesday?
Yes, the same routine, the same subject matters.
And those subject matters being more spiritual, or are they also sexual?
They were spiritual, sexual, and other things.
When do you recall seeing Mr. Alexander next?
I think it was right before Thanksgiving.
And you recall the reason for that meeting with him?
He was on his way to Riverside, where he was going to spend Thanksgiving, and Palm Desert is on the way, so he stopped at my house and we hung out for a little while. And then he continued on to Riverside.
Now when were you baptized into the Mormon Church?
November 26th,
So, of what
Yeah,
year?
that one right on here.
2006.
So this would have been, was this and who baptized you?
Travis baptized me.
This visit you're mentioning, was that when he baptized you, or was this a distinct visit?
No, this was a distinct visit. It was right before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Were you baptized before or after Thanksgiving?
After Thanksgiving, I think was on the 22nd that year. Well, the 26th would have been on a Sunday, so whatever the previous Thursday was.
Okay. This meeting then was at your home in Palm Desert?
Yes, I think it was the day before, on the Wednesday.
Okay. The day before Thanksgiving?
Yes,
Right.
right before Thanksgiving, so probably Wednesday.
Okay. And where did you wind up meeting him?
He came to my house with his dog.
Was Daryl still
Uh-oh.
living in the house at this time?
I think Daryl was still living in the house, but he was at work.
Okay. So tell us about what happens when he arrives at your home.
Well, this was the first time he had seen my house, so I just walked him around the property
Was it like
briefly.
the
It's not
photos?
a big
'Cause-
property, but he wanted to see the pool. His dog jumped in the pool and sank right to the bottom, so that was scary. I guess pugs don't swim. So he
That's the
jumped
name
in
of
with
a
his
punk
clothes
band.
and everything on to
Pugs
save his
don't
dog,
swim.
and I took him and we put him inside so he wouldn't do that again. So Travis was soaking wet at that point, so he took a hot shower because in November the pool is freezing. And I threw his clothes in the dryer so that they would dry off and warm up. And we were intimate again, and then we said goodbye.
I want to
You said
know
intimate.
where. That's so cool.
How were you intimate?
I don't recall exactly. It would have been oral sex or the grinding. Again, that's all we were doing at that point.
Oh, yeah.
During this particular encounter, did he again ask you to have anal sex with him?
Yes.
But no anal sex took place on that day?
No, it was more like teasing, and I said no.
After did he ejaculate?
Yes.
And after he ejaculated,
All of
he
it.
left?
Shortly thereafter.
Your Honor, may I approach? I want to show you what has been marked as exhibits 393 and 394. Be so kind as to take a look at those.
He does not look happy
Do you recognize those?
Yes.
at all.
What are those pictures of?
Those are pictures of Travis's erection.
And
Oh,
when did you,
finger on the
how
button.
did you come into possession of these photos?
They were sent to me
How?
via his phone,
Via a text message or picture message?
picture message. His phone and my phone.
To to admit exhibits 393 and 394.
Should I come back to foundation if we could get a date on it?
Sustained?
Ms. Arias, would you like to see the photos again in terms of the day that they were received?
I think I remember the day.
Well, let me have you take a look then and see if you can tell us the day that they were received. Do you recall now?
Yes,
Does that date on the photo reflect the date that you received it?
yes, that would have been a Saturday.
Oh.
And this,
His face. He almost did it. He almost did it. He almost kept his face straight. Hold on. Wait a second. Let's see if I can go back just a little bit. Here we go. Okay, watch Mr. Court Reporter. He's like, oh, are we really doing this?
you can tell us the day that they were received. Do you recall now?
Yes,
Does that date on the photo
Watch his
reflect the
face.
date that you received it?
yes, that would have been a Saturday.
Watch.
And this was before he came to your home in Palm Desert?
Yes,
Your Honor, I would again move to admit exhibits 393 and 394.
Yeah, what's the date? Somebody could just announce it.
it
But Jodi, what day was it that you received them?
it was November 11th, 2006.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I could look at it. The exhibit.
I agree. Wait, Juan wanted to look at it? Come on,
393 and
Juan.
394 admitted.
Can you see photos from it?
Yes.
Well, you said this came to you
I don't know what's coming.
via
So, sorry.
phone message. Is
Phrasing,
this something
poor
that
choice
you
of words.
had solicited from him?
I just
Not
wanna make sure
directly. I didn't
Court
expect a
TV is
photograph,
going
but
to
we
do
were
the right thing
flirting.
here.
You were what?
Flirting?
One moment. Looks
That
like
is
I'm
a
Jodi
picture
right
of his
now.
erection that he sent you, is that right?
Yes.
And you were saying you were flirting. What do you mean by flirting?
I was
Okay.
I
Looks
was
like
in
Court
Anaheim
TV's doing the right thing.
at the Anaheim Grove, and I was at a Super Saturday for that area. And I was listening to the speakers, and we began to text, and we were just text messaging back and forth.
Good.
It kind of it turned flirty, and then it turned sexual, and it went on for hours, actually.
Not
Just
so
back
good.
and forth, just trying to be witty and top each other's last comments.
I was trying to prevent a photo from
And in
showing
that
up,
regard,
That
in
would
order
be
to
the
top
case.
your last comment, he sent you
so I just put it
this
up
picture.
in the event it happened.
That actually culminated
But-
at the restaurant after we
So
left
we're
the
good.
Grove. He wasn't there, he was in Mesa. I
I
was with
feel a
other
little more
people.
confident letting it happen from here on out.
So we were at the restaurant when my phone beeped. I hadn't received pictures on that phone before. So when I showed I had a message from him, and I opened it and I couldn't find it. And then I realized it was a file that I don't know if I had to open it or go into a different folder to see it. And then I realized what it was.
Not
And
today, Satan. Not
I
today.
shut my phone really quick. It was a flip phone.
And moving, just showing you for the
Working the
record,
trigger
393. And then 394. It appears these are different photos, is that correct?
Yeah, yes, they're different.
So he sent you 2 photos that day?
Yes,
Okay,
consecutively.
all right. Ms. Arias, when he did that, was he also requesting that you reciprocate with any photos?
Yes,
Did you reciprocate with photos?
no, no.
There was a woman back there who was craning her neck like,
Why not?
I was at a restaurant and
you could just stop there. You were at a restaurant.
I don't know how to really
Like-
explain it without
Well, did
saying.
you want to reciprocate?
No, I didn't, but I knew he wanted to, so I was a little bit conflicted, but I said no.
How did he react to your refusal to send him a picture?
He felt it should be fair, kind of like that. Like, he didn't say that, but he had been requesting photos for a while at this point, and
What was he requesting photos of?
naked pictures.
Of you?
Yes.
No, the
Of
Michelin
particular
Man.
body parts, or did he make any specific requests?
No, he didn't specify body parts that I remember.
Okay. Up to the point in time when you received these pictures of his erection, you had not sent him any pictures, is that right?
Yes.
After the point in time, and I don't want to get too far down the road in the story, but after the point in time that he sent you those pictures, did you then feel a level of guilt for not reciprocating?
Yes, I didn't want to disappoint him. I felt like I'd
I love how
disappointed
he
him.
made.
And he seemed very disappointed. Anyway.
Okay.
I love how he made Flores sit there for this entire
Now,
thing at that desk.
I want to spend some time talking about, did you say
That
your
was
baptism
sound
took
effect.
place on November 26th of 2006, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. We heard a little bit from Mr. Freeman about the process, but I want to hear about what you went through leading up to it, okay? Would like to discuss that now?
Okay.
Do you remember a particular point in time, maybe a month, a year, that you decided you wanted to join the Mormon faith?
It was a series of experiences that brought me to make that decision ultimately.
Describe for us what you mean by series of experiences.
Well, the first week the missionaries came, they invited me to church that following Sunday. This time I'd actually slept, so I was able to pay attention to what was being said. And someone was giving a talk, and what that person said was very impactful and something that I had not heard other Christians embrace before, but it was something that I personally embraced. And I
And
liked
what
it-
was that, if you recall?
Am I allowed to say what he said?
Well, just tell us the general subject matter.
Hearsay.
It was
That
it
rule
was
doesn't
an acceptance and a tolerance of all faiths in the world, basically.
And you found that aspect of the Mormon faith to be in line with your own personal beliefs, right?
Yes.
Okay. Describe for us then, you were talking about these experiences, a series of
One
experiences. What
facet of
other
a belief
experiences
does
led
not
you
a
to
convert
believe
make.
or led you to choose to be baptized?
Yes,
into the Mormon
maybe,
faith?
The more, Travis and I talked about the church a lot, and I asked him any questions I had. I asked the missionaries also, but I was able to ask Travis a few more questions on a personal level. And not necessarily a sexual level, but just
That needs to
things
go
that I
on a
wasn't
shirt.
comfortable asking two 20-year-old guys. So
Night court. We don't sleep. We're fueled by justice.
the more that I discovered about the church, the more I realized that it did not conflict with my beliefs, and it was in alignment with a lot of the values that I had, and especially the family values and the emphasis they place on families and marriage and the importance thereof. And
Muchas gracias, sir.
I didn't like the no coffee rule.
Cheers, right back.
I couldn't imagine giving up coffee at that point. I drank it every morning and sometimes in the evenings. But that was the only thing that bothered me. There was no alcohol, but I wasn't really a drinker anyway, so that didn't bother me. But just everything seemed to line up for me as far as my beliefs and the lifestyle that I was interested in leading.
Once you made this decision internally in terms of wanting to be baptized, how did you move from that point in time to November 26th when you were actually baptized? Was there a process you went through with the church? Could you just kind of explain that to us?
Yes, the missionaries finally asked me if I was ready to be baptized, and I told them yes. So they set up an interview with another young man, I think he was an elder, and he asked me a series of questions. It's like an interview that you have right before you're baptized to see if you're ready to be baptized.
And when did this interview, if you know the date, fine. If not, relative to when you were baptized, when did this interview take place?
It was sometime in November, but I don't remember the exact time. It was close to my baptism date.
Okay. As it relates, well, let me ask you this. What sort of subjects what sort of questions were you asked? What were the subject matter of the questions that you were asked during this pre-baptismal interview?
So long ago, I don't remember the exact questions, but they asked questions about your belief in Jesus Christ and the veracity of the Book of Mormon, and about your belief in Joseph Smith being a prophet of God, and if you have been obeying the word of wisdom, which is the coffee and tea, etc. And if you've been obeying the law of chastity, which to my understanding at that time was, I guess, different.
Let me ask you about that. You said you were asked if you are obeying the law of chastity, right? You were asked that during the interview?
Yes.
Okay. And your understanding of the law of chastity was abstaining from penile vaginal intercourse. That's what your understanding was, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you were asked that question, based on your understanding, you believe that you were indeed in line with the vow of chastity. Is that accurate?
Yes. In a technical sense, I believed I was.
Okay. And that belief was based on the things that Mr. Alexander was telling you?
Yes.
So after this interview, what happened? Are you approved to be baptized? What is the process from that point on?
I wasn't approved right away because I told the person that Daryl still lived in the house. And so he said he'd have to check since he was an ex-boyfriend and he's the opposite sex, and that's discouraged in the church to live under the same roof as somebody of the opposite sex who's not family or not your spouse. So he checked, and then I interviewed, I think with another, I think it was the branch president, just to check. And he wanted to make sure that we were in separate bedrooms and that wasn't going to be an ongoing living situation. And Daryl had plans to move in about another week and a half or 2 weeks back to Monterey. So we were going to postpone the baptism, but the branch president said that he feels that the baptism should go forward as scheduled instead of postponing it till after Daryl moved.
Okay. And it was scheduled for the 26th? Was that the original day it was scheduled for?
Yes.
Okay. So you get this approval, I guess. How many days beforehand do you get the approval versus the day you're actually baptized?
I would say roughly a week. I don't remember exactly. It was close to the date.
Okay. So you were aware of your impending baptism when Mr. Alexander came to visit you at your home?
Yes,
Okay,
I believe I was.
okay. Who baptized you into the Mormon faith?
Travis baptized me.
How was that decision made that he was
Established?
to be the person to baptize you?
Well, when I decided I was going to get baptized, there was a period in early November, I think, or maybe it was mid-November. Travis had been a little more distant again. So I was kind of questioning where we were going with things on that. I still wanted to get baptized. And when I asked the missionaries, well, when they had told me if I would ask me if I was ready, and I told them yes, I asked if his name was Elder Jensen. I asked if he would do it because he had, second to Travis, he had taught me so much about the church at that point. And he had said that it's better.
Objection, hearsay.
It's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Rephrase the question.
Oh,
Did he accept your invitation to baptize you?
He did, no, he didn't accept it. He didn't,
Objection, now the answer.
To
Sustained.
your understanding, why not?
I don't recall exactly what he said, but he encouraged me to find
Objection,
somebody.
hearsay. He doesn't recall exactly what he said.
you don't let Jodi tell her story. She
I
gets
remember
angry.
the essence of it, and that was that he encouraged me to find somebody, not him or his partner, not one of the missionaries.
So it was her choice.
Apart from those
Him
individuals
do it.
and Mr. Alexander, at this point in time, did you have a close relationship with any other members of the church that would have the ability to baptize you?
Not a close relationship. I had acquaintances and nobody really in that area except the small branch. I didn't hang out with them too much at that point. So not really.
Okay. So how did you then come to the point in time that you decided that you wanted Travis to baptize you?
He was the only other person I could think of.
She's a victim advocate.
And he was the person that I was initially thinking of also. So I decided to go ahead and, well, he asked me first if I had decided whether or not I was going to be baptized. And I told him yes, and he said, that's great.
Objection, hearsay is the conversation.
Sorry.
Mr. Alexander was happy to learn that you were being baptized.
He was happy to learn that, yes.
Did you then invite him to baptize you?
Yes.
Do you recall when you made that invitation?
It would have been November. I don't remember the exact date.
Did this happen in person or did this happen over the telephone?
It was over the phone.
Okay. Where did your baptism take place?
In Palm Desert.
What was involved? Well, just describe for us your baptism. Is it just you and Mr. Alexander, or are there other people involved?
No, many people were invited. I think it's open to anyone attending, especially church members. Non-members are encouraged to attend also. Travis, I don't remember if he invited them or if I invited them, but the Hugheses came out.
On Sunday, yes.
A few other people in the business that were church members came to my baptism.
Did you invite your family?
No, they lived 11, 12 hours away, so I didn't. I told them,
Objection, hearsay was the question. She was asked whether she invited them.
Sustained.
You didn't invite them. Were you under the impression that they wouldn't have an interest in being there?
Well, I mean, if they could teleport there, they'd be there, but they certainly
Use
wouldn't
a
make the effort
portal.
to come out there for that event.
They could use a portal.
Prior to you being baptized, had your family expressed
Lilith,
misgivings
thank you
about
so much
you
for gifting that
joining the
membership.
church?
Welcome,
Yes.
Nan R. Welcome. Oh, yeah.
We say your family.
Kool-Aid.
Are we talking about the immediate family, your parents, your grandparents, and your brothers and sisters?
Yes, aunts, parents, siblings,
It went from
and friends.
early January to early May.
So pretty much everyone in your, from what you're
Yes.
telling us, it sounds like pretty much everyone in
A
your
while.
immediate circle discouraged you from joining the church.
Yes,
Okay. Did you invite Mr. Brewer to attend?
yes,
Did he attend?
no.
So tell us what, you mentioned the ceremony. How did you feel that day knowing that you were going to be baptized before the ceremony?
I was a little nervous because I didn't know what the process entailed, but I was excited.
And how was tell us what occurred during your ceremony.
Well, we had chairs set up and a small podium in another room, not in the main chapel. But it's still at the church building. And people took their seats. There were some hymns. Well, we opened with a prayer. There were some hymns that we sang and a few talks that were given on a few different subjects. And I don't remember if another hymn was sang, but then I was led into the font. I went into the back, and then Travis was already in the font.
You said the font. What is the font?
The best I can describe it is a very big,
Oversized
like
bathtub.
a giant bathtub, but filled with water about waist level when you're standing up.
Okay. And you said Mr. Alexander was back there. What takes place when you go towards the font?
Well, before entering the font, I changed into an all-white, kind of like a jumpsuit. And then there's some steps
Time
that lead into
disco.
the font.
And what happens when you go into the font?
It was a lot like Dan described. You walk up and Travis held his hand up and said some kind of invocation or prayer or blessing. I don't know what it's called.
Pretty
He
much
made a
what you said.
declaration, so to speak, and then I was dipped into the water and came back up.
And how did it feel for you to be baptized? Were you elated? Did you feel very spiritual? Can you describe that feeling?
It was a very peaceful feeling.
Now, after the official baptism, the ritual you just talked about, after that is over, are there more services? Is there a reception? For those of
I
us who
could have
aren't
picked
familiar, could you
OJ.
please just kind of take us through that experience?
I don't know. Next
Are you
time
talking
it'll be
about
like popular
what happens
vote.
after the baptism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I went back into the designated area, I guess, for the ladies where
It's a
they
good
can change.
option.
I was changing into my clothes. Sky Hughes came into that area to check on me. After that, we went back into the main area where everybody was still hanging out and just talking about whatever, just plans for the week, things like that. I think we might have closed with a prayer, but I don't remember. I just remember everything sort of dispersing shortly after I was out of the water.
Okay. And how did you get back home that day?
Right?
That day, I drove.
Okay. Did
Still
you
have to watch
drive
it.
by yourself?
No, Travis came with me.
Tell us what happened when you got back to the house?
We got about 20 minutes left, everybody.
We got back to the
Well, 20
house.
minutes
His car
left.
was parked at my house, so we took my car to church. So we got back to the house.
That one's on the list too.
Went inside and we hugged. Words were exchanged.
What happened after you hugged and words were exchanged?
We began to kiss and things got intimate again.
Was that place of intimacy a
shock
place
jock in
you were
another
thinking
life.
about going on this spiritual day?
Not how it ultimately happened, no.
I do not look forward to this weekend at all.
What do you mean, how it ultimately happened? Describe for us what happened after you and Mr. Alexander started kissing that day.
Well, we were in my bedroom. We were not on the bed, but we were standing next to it. And we were kissing. And I was in my church clothes. He was in his church clothes. The kissing got more passionate, more intense, and then he spun
Not
me
today,
around.
Satan. Not today.
And he bent me over the bed, and he was just on top of me. I didn't think anything was, thought he was just going to keep kissing me.
What happened when he bent you over the bed? Were you face down on the bed or face up?
I was face down. My head was turned to the side.
What happened?
His hands were wandering, and he lifted up my skirt, and he pulled down my underwear, and he was pressing against me,
What do you mean pressing against you?
his whole body.
Did he have an erection?
I could feel an erection.
And what happened next?
He unzipped his pants, and I guess he pulled it down. I didn't see, but he began to have anal sex with me, and
You said that he had anal sex with you. Based on what you said before, this wasn't something that you were expecting to happen.
no, not that night.
Is this something that you wanted to happen?
Well, I can't say I wanted to, but I didn't stop him.
When he entered you, you said you didn't stop him. Did you say anything? Did you tell him no?
No,
Was it pleasurable for you physically?
that time it was painful, somewhat.
Given that it was painful, why didn't you tell him no?
Eventually I did. I probably would have just let him continue, but it became too painful.
Why do you say you probably just would have let him continue?
Because I knew that is what he had been wanting for a while, and I trusted him. I had a lot of trust, and I just went with what he was, with his agenda, I guess I could say.
This agenda you describe him having and this pain you were experiencing, did this go on for several minutes before you told him no?
I don't think it went on too long, not several minutes.
He
maybe
needs a
few.
bidet for his ears.
And from what you're telling us, it
Alone.
sounds like the only reason that you told him no or told him to stop was the pain, not your lack of interest in this activity. Is that right?
That's pretty accurate. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to it, but definitely the pain, I had to have him stop. Otherwise, I probably would have continued.
Otherwise, what?
I probably would have continued if it weren't for that.
Okay. After he stopped, was that the end of the intimacy that day?
He finished by ejaculating on my back or somewhere like on me. And then we were finished. And then shortly, I mean, I think we parted ways. We kissed and embraced, and he left.
After this encounter on this spiritual day, how did you feel about yourself?
After
Sure
he
is.
left, shortly after he left, I
Yep.
didn't feel very good. I kind of felt like a used piece of toilet paper. I don't know. I didn't continue feeling that way. Just shortly thereafter, for a little while, I did.
Then in late November of 2006, after your baptism, does Mr. Alexander stay in Palm Desert, to your knowledge, or does he go back?
He drove back to Mesa, to my knowledge.
Okay. You need a moment?
No. Thank you.
After this incident on the 26th, when was the next time you spoke with Mr. Alexander?
I can't remember if it was that night or the next night, but it was shortly after that.
Did the subject of the encounter, the anal sex you just described, did that come up in your conversations?
He wrote me a letter about it. We didn't discuss it directly on the phone. We had discussed things of that nature in the past.
You wrote a letter?
Did
Where
you
is this
ever
letter?
voice your displeasure with the incident to him?
Only when I said,
Objection, hearsay. She said.
She's the declarant judge.
Overruled, you may answer.
I don't know.
kind of just
They do
said
their own
through
thing.
clenched teeth, stop, stop, stop. And he stopped. So I think he got the impression that it was not pleasurable at that point, but I never said anything about it after that of a negative nature.
So you never
Me
advised
too.
him that
And
you felt
yes.
like, as I think you said, a used piece of toilet paper. You never advised
No.
him that.
I wouldn't have told him that.
You would not have? Is that what
No.
you said? Why not?
Because I don't think that would have made him feel very good.
How about how you felt?
I was dealing with that, you know.
I built it.
So after this incident, you say you talked to him. Are you talking to him then again on a near daily basis or near nightly basis?
Yes,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say.
yes.
And you mentioned these phone calls getting progressively later and later. What time are we talking about a majority of these phone calls taking place?
He almost stopped calling me completely before 11 p.m. Usually it was closer to midnight, and sometimes it was as late as 3 a.m.
Whoa.
He would call and we would talk.
Didn't used to be.
These
That's-
talks now, you mentioned in the past that they were of a spiritual nature, personal nature, and a sexual nature. Did that pattern persist
Gotta train 'em.
throughout November? Subsequent, I
Yes.
should say, November, December, subsequent to this incident.
Yeah, new subject matters were incorporated regarding our futures, things like that. But for the most part, that same kind of thing continued.
Well, let me ask you this. You say regarding the future. Did that future, was that related to the relationship prospects between yourself and Mr. Alexander?
Yes,
Prior to, let's even make it specific to November 26th, were you and Travis boyfriend and girlfriend?
no, we were not.
When did you,
Okay.
for the sake of discussion now, when did you become boyfriend and girlfriend?
We became boyfriend, girlfriend. Well, we didn't term it that, but we became, not initially, we became exclusive, to my understanding, on February 2nd, 2007.
So it was a good 2-3 months later after this incident before you became exclusive or boyfriend and girlfriend? What some
Yes.
people- okay. Now, as it relates to these times, and I want to back up a little bit, when you were in public with Mr. Alexander prior to November 26th, did you act publicly as if you were boyfriend and girlfriend?
No, not in public.
Oh no.
What about during the trip to Ehrenberg? I mean, were you holding hands? Did you have your arm around each other? Was that different than most of the other times?
Inside the motel room, definitely.
Raising.
Inside the truck stop. There's, the restaurant is adjoins this mini mart, and he grabbed my butt there. There were some men standing by,
Yes.
and he did that right in front of them. And other than that, I think he wasn't too affectionate at Sizzler.
Footloose.
I don't really remember, but he was very affectionate inside the motel room while we were being physical.
Okay. As you were having this, what was the beginnings of a sexual relationship, you've had these few sexual encounters. Were you under the impression that this was something that was supposed to be kept a secret?
I got that impression from different things, different hints and clues and things that his friend said.
Secret, secret. I've got a secret.
Would that be, without directly saying what they're saying, would that be directly related to the vow of chastity and Travis's, the belief that Travis was adhering to it?
I don't know. I believed that we were adhering to it.
Okay.
It was, sorry.
So even at the point in time when you had this unwanted anal sex, you believed you were complying with the vow of chastity?
By definition.
Blah,
I didn't
blah, blah,
really
dee,
feel
blah,
that
blah.
way, but by definition, I did believe that.
In that regard, then, there must have been some reason why you felt like you couldn't tell anybody about these encounters, right?
Yes.
And what was that reason?
I don't typically talk about my sex life with people. That was pretty much the simple reason.
It's because
Did
there
Mr.
were no
Alexander
people
know
around you to
that?
talk about it.
He knew I was discreet. I didn't reveal anything about Daryl.
Okay. Did he ask?
In the beginning, he joked about it, but he didn't press for too many details. I didn't give him any.
Okay.
Blink once if you're okay. Blink twice.
So
if you
after
need to go.
November 26th, and you're still living in Palm Desert, right?
Yes,
And Travis is still living in Mesa, right?
yes.
Okay. And it sounds to me like in this point in time in the story, you hadn't come to visit him in Mesa. Is that correct?
Yes, I'd never been to Arizona.
Mostly because they're fake.
Let's talk about then
You don't even need them.
the next time you saw Mr. Alexander. When was that?
It was about, it was the Friday following the Sunday I was baptized.
And where did that meeting
2
take place?
hours later.
At his house,
His house in Mesa?
yes.
Okay. And what was the plan? Were you coming out there for a weekend? Were you coming out there for a long time? What was the idea, the purpose of the visit?
There was another regional event happening, a Super Saturday in Phoenix with a special guest speaker that was flying in.
I'd have
was
to
really
find
big
a
in the
different
company.
way to do it.
So a ton of people
mostly
were
'cause of
carpooling,
Copyright.
caravanning out from California, and I was part of the caravan.
I don't think I could
And we
offer enough
all
commentary to
think there
make it
were
fair use for anybody
3
who
or 4
actually
vehicles.
owns that.
They were coming
So-
from Paris,
But there may be some
California,
opportunities
Moreno Valley, Marietta,
coming in the future.
other Southern
too.
California towns, and Palm Desert is on the way, so
Do
that was the
something like
last
that on a
stop where I
different
met them at Carl's Jr.
venue.
and we all got on the road and drove together for the most of the drive.
Okay. When you, in this event in Mesa, I'm assuming this wasn't at Mr. Alexander's home, is that right?
The event?
Yeah.
No, it was in Phoenix.
Okay. So you caravan, you carpool with these people from California. You get to this meeting in Phoenix. Is this where you see Mr. Alexander at this meeting?
No, we went to his house first on Friday night. The event was Saturday morning.
Okay. You say we. Who was we?
Me and, do you want me to name names?
Well, no, that's okay. Just some of the people you were carpooling with?
Yes, his friends and people that were in the company.
What was the purpose of going to Mr. Alexander's house? Were you staying there? Could you just describe that for us?
Yes, a bunch of people from out of state were coming to his house, and we were all going to crash there.
Okay. And what were the sleeping arrangements to be?
Well, the sleeping arrangements after we got there, we were determining those things.
Let me ask you this. Prior to, obviously, Mr. Alexander, you knew you were coming out to this event, right?
Yes.
Did he give any indications to you that while you were in Mesa, and how many days was this going to be?
It's Saturday and we would leave Sunday.
Okay.
Well, we arrived Friday night.
Okay, so while you were in Mesa for this 3-day weekend, I guess, did he give you any indication that he wanted to engage or have some sort of sexual interaction with you?
No, it was just the opposite.
Told you he didn't.
Yes.
So tell us about that weekend then. With yourself and others, did you wind up having a sexual encounter with Mr. Alexander that weekend?
No, he joked about oral sex, giving him, but he was concerned about his ex-girlfriend there, and he didn't want us to be affectionate in front of her.
And this ex-girlfriend, we heard from a girl by the name of Lisa, then by the name of Lisa Andrews. Is that the girlfriend we're talking about?
No, Lisa Andrews came afterward. This was a girlfriend prior to
Okay,
Lisa.
all right. And what was her name?
Deanna.
So he expressed to you concern that Deanna would be jealous.
He didn't say jealous.
Did he express misgivings about how
She
the two of you were
was.
to act in front of
She was.
Deanna?
She was.
Yes, he felt he needed to warn me.
Warn you that what?
We're going to take the noon recess at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the jury room at 1:25. Please remember the admonition. Have a nice lunch. You are excused. Please be seated. The record will show the jury has left the courtroom. Yes, Ms. Arias, you may step down. Let's address the last objection. Mr. Martinez.
She was going to talk about what Mr. Alexander told her. That's hearsay.
You know, hearsay has a much more complex definition than just the fact that something comes out of someone else's mouth. That does not hearsay make. It has to be an assertion, intended as an assertion by the declarant that is offered for the truth of the matter asserted. This goes to Ms. Arias' state of mind as it relates to how she was to act in front of this girlfriend, Deanna. It goes to the effect of the listener. I don't even think it's hearsay because it's not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. As to the reasons why that Mr. Alexander was concerned about his conduct in front of Ms. Reed, that we're not going to the truth of the matter, that the effect of how
I thought it was
this
actually
affected
pretty
Ms.
deep.
Arias' conduct and the behavior that weekend.
But as we discussed at the bench yesterday, if you can redirect her by rephrasing the question, that is preferable. We'll limit the number of bench conferences we need to have. So just rephrase the question
Sure.
when the jury returns. All right. Mr. Nermy, you wanted to make a record? Did you want to do that now?
Well, yes, Your Honor, that's fine, but I believe I'd like to have the sheriff's
Privately.
office begin by addressing what they're requesting, and then so I can make my objection to it.
Mr. Dutcher?
There is an order
On
of
behalf of the
events here.
sheriff.
Morning, Judge. Scott Dutcher on behalf of Sheriff Arpaio. Come to the sheriff's attention. There have been some conferences in chambers and in
Hold on.
non-secure area of the courthouse with Ms. Arias present, and that's not something the sheriff permits. After we all discussed this this morning before court began, I did explore some other options with the sheriff's office, and I know the defense has some concerns, and this may be an option if everyone wants this. If there are short conferences in lieu of having everyone clear the courtroom, right over here is a secure area, and there aren't chairs. I don't know if we can get some chairs, but if it's a short conference, we can all enter this
representing the
area of
sheriff.
the courthouse, which is secure area of the jail, and everyone can, I guess, say whatever they need to say. I don't know if that's an option that everyone wants, but that or the courtroom are the only options.
I'm finishing up this video and then we're going to call it a night.
Inmates in unsecure areas of the jail, and that's not something the sheriff allows for any inmate, including Ms. Arias.
All right. And you wanted to make a record on that, Mr. Nermy?
Judge, I just want to recite, at least, obviously, we know the Sixth Amendment guarantees my client's right to be present at all vital stages of these proceedings, and any denial of that would be a denial of due process
The only way she
and
can
reason
control it.
for mistrial. In this regard, obviously, based on whatever the reasons were when we were asking to do this, whatever party was, both parties have asked, and the court has understood that under those circumstances, with not going into what they are, that those were important. There were reasons for it. That is why some of those records have been sealed. So, Judge, I believe that, at least for the record, and our assertion is that regardless, and I'm not trying to get in a dispute with the sheriff's office, but Ms. Arias is entitled to do that. I don't know about the viability from a logistics standpoint of what the sheriff's office is suggesting, but I just want to make it clear for the record that we're asserting that she has an absolute right to be present, and if that needs to be facilitated in some way, either through clearing the courtroom or alternative means, and that is the basis of our assertion, and we will not waver on that point. If it gets more contentious in that regard, I would be asking for motions from the sheriff's office because this is such an important right.
All right, the court will make the best determination it can in any given circumstance, including clearing the courtroom if necessary to accommodate a defense request or a confidential meeting. All right, anything else?
No, thank you.
All right.
Oh, what a day. What a day. Part 4 starts the next day. Good grief. So what were they arguing about? They were saying that in the confidential meetings that they have, I think in the judges' chambers, that you can't have Jodi back there. She can't just be back there. That's just not how this works. But the counter argument is, well, she's a defendant. She has the right to be a part of every single part of her trial. So if she can't be back there, you can't just put her somewhere in a different place and just add some chairs. So the argument was we would like to clear the courtroom if we want to have a confidential meeting so she can be included instead of putting her elsewhere or having the meeting elsewhere in a different location. So I'm not quite sure what the end... I don't know what the end game on that one was, other than she should be here for all parts of the trial, including those meetings. So, yep. So yeah. 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 Cleaning products definitely required for sure. Oh, good grief. Well, listen, I added some portal sounds, so I got this one. And then this one. Oof. So we got some sound effects. I forgot that my music license with Epidemic Sound also comes with a bunch of sound effects, so I really need to look through those as well. So, all right, everybody. Well, I really appreciate you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out with me here on Friday night. Thanks for all your support, your kind wishes and thoughts and good vibes. Those are awesome. I really appreciate them. We've got her comfy for the weekend, and so we'll kind of play this by ear. Sunday, barring any craziness, Sunday at 8:45, we will be doing The Perfect Murder. And so you can submit those to truecrimewinetime@gmail.com. Submit your plans for the perfect crime, and Terry and I will try and pop holes in them. But we'll be on 8:45 Eastern, and then around 9 or 10, if I can get it finished in time tomorrow, around 9 or 10 a.m., I'll be releasing for members for 3 days the next sidebar on the Shell Lake murders and mental health in Canada. And so that'll be happening Sunday morning. And then Monday, there is no day court for the next week, but you will get me in night court. So I will be here, again, barring any craziness. We will definitely let you know. I'll do a better job of letting everybody know through a post on YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that, and just try and keep you informed. And so you can do that. You can also go to our link tree and download or save it to your homepage, or I guess home screen on your phone. And that you can click on that, and then I'll give you kind of a one-stop shop to everything 13th Juror. So I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much. The instructions for the end of the night still stand. Thank you for showing up for jury duty. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself, take care of your family and friends, and don't forget to smile. Court is adjourned. I'll see you guys on Sunday.